It's.
So how we doing for, I guess you're out on Thursday, huh? Well, you can't be part of.
I'll get rid of the pillows.
Because that's what I want to go. Yeah, and then they'll do it for you, based on what happened to Sweden. Where it was like, it's 9,000, I'm like, that's this way. I mean, I think that's good, so. So we can also come and have to back. If you work with student association, one specific things there. You can do that, or you can do pledges. But then, so I wanted hers to be on the agenda, so that the public can say that, oh, she missed it. You know, 'cause I wanted to hear where the others is. That's good. And the other is to look. That's three, and even after, because they only have 3 years. It's this. Matter of fact, the original one.
No secrets, always work.
You know, these guys, then otherwise they would only do 2 days. So, you know, May and June, they said July, now they're July. I mean, I looked at the. And I think it's. No, cool.
Yes.
How are you? I don't think I signed it. Someone signed it? You know. I didn't think so.
Hey, how are you? Good. Guys.
My sister went to a small town. And now they're working with, I know, it's just.
I did hear about that. Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
It's like.
Hello, sir. How are you? I guess you are his coordinates now.
No, we didn't.
But you look nice.
Well, she was expecting me.
That down suit, I said.
Nice job today. Who's that the, what was it? Stormwater. Thing in Monmouth County. That's your. Oh, you know that beautiful building is their DPW? Their DPW building in Neptune Township is nice. Where is it? You know where the aquatic center is? If you kept going up that road, the aquatic center is on the left. It's on Heck Ave, but you'd never go by it. Where's the grind? There's so many. You don't say it's on Phil.
Really?
With the kitchen, dining room.
We have no space for anything.
Read a building, all the library.
Oh, yeah. Go back.
Yes.
There you go.
We're cozy. That's what she said.
After a while, you
I said the same thing.
You gotta watch it.
There's like a richness about it.
Hey, Jack. How you doing? It's
Make sure it doesn't go down that quick. Yeah. So what I do is try. So.
right, so I do that. Yeah, I put them all, well, six, I said. They sort of.
Remember? Did you get this?
Yeah, I know.
She's senior in high school. Phenomenal fighter. She's like Forrest Gump. We get to look at each other across the table.
I know, right? Still made me laugh.
Ah, beautiful, thank you so much. Number 10, communications. Proclamation. Right. Want to read those? I'm very happy to see that. We don't have, I don't have to mention that.
Hey, look at my 3 and 2 seconds.
Yeah. So that will be the last proclamation, right? You want this? Dave Ritchie was here tonight, but that's what he was today. I would just say the name. You don't have to-
Shanna, you want to hold on to the Arts Council proclamation?
And I'm gonna do this last of all the proclamations.
Okay, all right, I have the other proclamations. I don't know who's gonna be reading what, so. I don't know. All right, thank you. These are the other proclamations. I don't know who's reading what, This is the other one.
This is our today, we have the administrator.
He was gonna take
Call this meeting to order, April 15th, 2025. Stand for pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I wish to announce that the 48-hour notice is required under the Open Public Meetings Act. It was emailed to the Asbury Park Press, the Coast Star, and the New Coaster on December the 19th of 2024. That a copy has been placed on the bulletin board in the borough office and that a copy has been filed with the borough clerk. As a courtesy to the public, this meeting may be attended via Zoom. If for any reason Zoom fails or is disconnected, the in-person meeting will continue without interruption and action can and will be taken, providing that there is an in-person quorum. Mr. Noble excused. Ms.
Actually,
Greenblatt?
she's with us.
Oh, is she here? Oh, sorry. Hey, Jane. Okay, she's here. Ms. Greenblatt,
Here.
Mr. Nowicki,
Here.
Mr. Weber,
Here.
Mayor Gubatose.
Here. And I'll recognize Councilwoman Greenblatt.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Gubatose. I would like to request that we move item number 6, presentations and bids, as well as item number 10, communication, the Arts Council appointments, to this point in the agenda.
Second.
Mr. Noble,
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose.
Yes. So now having moved presentations, by the way, welcome everybody. I see we have a standing room only group and it's great to see everyone here. We'll try to move through the agenda as quickly as we can. To that point, we're going to discuss presentations and bids. And the first one on our list, we're going to save for last. So we're moving to the Arbor Day proclamation. Council President DeNoble, do you have a copy of that?
I'm just trying to pull it up now, but can you do another one first and I'll do that one next?
We can, and if you don't have it, Mr. Weber, Councilman Weber has a copy as well.
That would be wonderful. Yes, that would be very appropriate. Thank you, Councilman Weber.
What should we do? Now, if you will do Arbor Day.
This guy always does that for every-
Okay, there's a proclamation about recognizing Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our communities. And now therefore be it resolved, the mayor and Borough of Bradley Beach does hereby proclaim April 25th, 2025 as Arbor Day in the Borough of Bradley Beach and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Be it further resolved, the mayor urges all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations, dated April 15th, 2025.
Thank you, Councilman. While you're on a roll, would you mind taking our Administrative Professionals Day proclamation?
Sure thing. Borough of Bradley Beach proclamation, Administrative Professionals Day. Whereas administrative professionals, including administrative assistants, office assistants, receptionists, billing clerks, finance specialists, deputy clerks, and other administrative support staff make up one of the largest segments of the labor force in America. And whereas administrative professionals play an essential role in coordinating the office operation of businesses, government agencies, educational institutions, and other organizations. And whereas the work of administrative professionals today requires advanced knowledge and expertise in communications, computer software, office technology, project management, organization, customer service, and other vital office management responsibilities. And whereas Administrative Professionals Day is observed annually in workplaces around the world to recognize the important contributions of administrative staff. And whereas we recognize the importance and contributions of highly skilled administrative professionals to the success of office operations. Now therefore be it resolved, the governing body of the Borough of Bradley Beach do hereby recognize April 23rd, so not yet, it's coming up, as Administrative Professionals Day, and do hereby recognize and appreciate these administrative professionals and their valuable contribution to the workplace and support their continued professional growth, dated this 15th day of April 2025. Thank you, office professionals.
Thank you, Councilman. Let me turn to Councilman Nowicki to read our National Volunteer Week proclamation.
Whereas National Volunteer Week enacted in 1974 by President Richard Nixon celebrates the spirit of volunteerism, urging all Americans to seek opportunities to provide service to their community. And whereas the Borough of Bradley Beach is fortunate to have dedicated volunteers who generously give their time, energy, and talents to help make our community a better place. And whereas the work of these volunteers contribute to the quality of life in the borough in countless ways. And whereas these volunteers serve on a variety of boards, commissions, committees, and extends to include many nonprofit organizations. And whereas volunteers also share their time to help with various borough-sponsored events. And whereas volunteering changes the lives of volunteers in a positive way, increasing self-confidence, self-esteem, and physical well-being, offering the chance to make new connections and providing opportunities to learn new skills and abilities. And whereas the Borough of Bradley Beach recognizes the volunteering improves the quality of life and increases community participation and ownership. Volunteers are vital to our future as a desirable, caring, and productive city. Now therefore be it resolved, the governing body of the Borough of Bradley Beach does hereby recognize the week, April 20th to the 26th, as National Volunteer Week, and expresses gratitude to all local volunteers for their tireless dedication and service to the community, dated this 15th day of April 2025.
Thank you, Councilman. Now I will read the proclamation we have for National Military Appreciation Month. And specifically whereas in 1999, Senator John McCain introduced legislation to designate the month of May as National Military Appreciation Month, and both the Senate and House of Representatives adopted resolutions calling for Americans to recognize and honor U.S. service members. And whereas National Military Appreciation Month, NMAM, is celebrated every May and is a declaration that encourages U.S. citizens to observe the month in a symbol of unity. And whereas NMAM honors the current and former members of the U.S. Armed Forces, including those who have died in pursuit of freedom. And whereas the month of May is characterized by 6 national observances, which highlight the contributions of those who have served. Loyalty Day on May 1st, Public Service Recognition Week, May 4th through May 10th, Victory Day in Europe, aka VE Day on May 8th, Armed Forces Day on May 17th, Memorial Day on May 26th. Now therefore be it resolved, the governing body of the Borough of Bradley Beach do hereby proclaim the month of May as National Military Appreciation Month, and encourage all citizens to recognize the service of all current and former military personnel, and to take part in all national observances. Dated April 15, 2025. We have one more proclamation. I'd like to turn to Councilwoman Greenblatt.
Great, so I'm just wondering, do we want to call the appointments up or?
We can do this one of two ways. We have a very exciting announcement to make in general tonight, and that is that as many people know, we lost a really powerful force in the world of arts in Bradley Beach last year, Julia Sandra Wren. And with her loss, we were concerned that we might lose the Arts Council, which has been an integral part of our community for many years under Julia's leadership. And I want to make sure I give full credit to Councilwoman Greenblatt sitting to my immediate right for her efforts to help resurrect that Arts Council that was starting to disintegrate a little bit, Julia. So what we are going to do tonight is read a proclamation recognizing the Arts Council and renaming of the Arts Council. as well as I as mayor am going to be appointing a number of members to our re-energized Arts Council. I'm gonna read the name of those appointments now, and perhaps if you all wouldn't mind, as I read your name, if you're here, if you wouldn't mind just coming up to the front of the room and, take a very brief bow, but stay here while we read the actual proclamation for Julia Rand. So the Arts Council of Bradley Beach, a legacy to Julia Rand appointments include, and I'm gonna read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 names. Hopefully, many or all of you are here. The first person that I will appoint to the newly reformed Arts Council, June Julian. June, thank you very much. Second name, Nathaniel Nate Riccio.
I think he's not here tonight.
Okay. The next name, Mia Mustasio. Mutasio. The next name that we will appoint, Gwen Rosenblatt. Is Gwen with us tonight? She's coming. The next member, Olivia Miranda. Is Olivia with us? Okay. The next name, Jordan Hamowy. Okay. The next name, Lori Crine. The next person, Scott Eltringham. Scott Eltringham. Okay. The next person, Carol Lester. And finally, Amy Hall, ex officio. Okay. Well, Mr. Greenblatt, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. And I'd also like to, would you like to come up? Okay, so, we have asked, Julia Rand's, partner and wife, Jackie Schneider, who has been a part of the Arts Council, despite her best efforts, since its inception. So, and I want to thank you all very much. It's nice to meet some of you. So this is a proclamation to rename the Arts Committee to the Arts Council of Bradley Beach, a legacy to Julia Sandra Rand. Whereas on behalf of the Borough of Bradley Beach, the Mayor and Council wish to rename the Arts Council of Bradley Beach in honor of Ms. Julia Sandra Rand. And whereas Ms. Rand passed away on June 21st, 2024, she was a respected resident of Bradley Beach who demonstrated her commitment to our community with her theatrical and directorial expertise and shared her love of performing arts with the borough. And whereas Ms. Rand attended Boston University, majoring in theater and directing before moving to New York City to pursue her dream. Julia's training included studies with Uta Hagen at HB Studio, the Royal Shakespeare Company, and the American Globe Theater in New York City. She was an actress, a director of theater and opera, a playwright, a producer, an artist manager, and whereas later in her life, Ms. Rand returned to her field of study and graduated from Marymount Manhattan College, where she earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in theater and then a Master of Arts degree in English from Monmouth University. And whereas in 2012, the late Julie Schreck and former mayor of Bradley Beach wanted to bring the arts to the community. Learning that Julia was living in Bradley Beach, she asked her to start an arts council. Reluctant at first, Julia agreed as long as she could produce Shakespeare at the gazebo on the boardwalk in the summer, which she did. And whereas the Arts Council also produced and presented ethnic festivals, art exhibits, photography contests for young people, and concerts featuring classical and musical theater singers. Now therefore be it resolved, in recognition of the many contributions of Julia Sandra Rand to our community, the governing body of the Borough of Bradley Beach do hereby rename the Borough of Bradley Arts Council to the Arts Council of Bradley Beach, a legacy of Julia Sandra Rand. It is with deep appreciation that this honor is bestowed and a continued community effort to carry on the celebration of arts in the Borough of Bradley Beach. Dated this 15th day of April, 2025. Thank you. I have a copy. Oh, no, I was gonna say that we're gonna get.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that okay?
Okay, does anybody?
My phone's dying.
Of course I have a phone.
Thank you.
You didn't bring it.
Mine's hidden away, so.
You know, so hold on a second. Oh, it's closer, and he has his phone, not his phone.
It's just temperamental.
Here it is, under my jacket.
Stands with you.
Those pictures, for council, so.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
She was very proud of, being here in Bradley. And of course, many of you know that her parents, even Phil Yanowitz, had, Phil's Spa on Main Street for many years. Sandy, then known Sandy, I'll tell you the long story of the name change, but that's not important. But she worked side by side with her parents in the luncheonette. But Phil, as you know, at the first sound of the whistle, he would run out, rip off his apron, run out of the store and go to the fire or the emergency, whatever, and leave Eve with the store with everyone. So, this was Julia's way of continuing to work for the borough of Bradley Beach. And I was not going to be involved. This was to be Julia's baby. But needless to say, I couldn't stay silent, and I became the music director for the Arts Council. So it has also been my honor and my privilege to serve the community for these past 12 years. Thank you so much.
Okay, once again, to everyone who volunteered to take up the torch and carry on the Bradley Beach tradition of having a really powerful arts council. And thank you for all of the support you've provided us all these years. Any other comments or
No,
questions?
thank you so much.
Okay,
Say, people that are just here for that, if you want to go, you can go.
That's what you're here for.
But I say thank you to all of the council.
Thank you.
okay, and again, we did go a little out of order just to accommodate our guests here tonight who are now forming this new arts council. We're gonna go to what's probably the main event for the evening is workshops focused on Bradley Beach financials. And our one and only CFO, John Barrett, is going to present workshops on a number of issues for us. Obviously, lastly, the 2025 budget, most importantly, but also results from the 23 audit, corrective action report, and our 24 annual financial statement.
I see Pringle seating over here. Good evening, Mayor and Council, and good evening, everybody. I am so excited you all came out for some financial update here at Bradley Beach. As the chief financial officer of the town, I've come to a lot of different towns and I've never seen this kind of turnout. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. The finance committee is what they do there. That being said, I'm here to talk about a few different things. Number one, the 2023 audit, before I got here was not complete. I'm happy to say, the mayor and governing body have a copy of that audit. They're about to accept that audit tonight, in addition to a corrective action plan. And the audit is conducted by outside auditors, independent auditors that come out and do testing and compilation of financials. 2023 was a rough year on many accounts. I'm sure the local media covered those accounts. I'm not here to talk about prior CFOs or companies that are here. I'm here kind of to look forward. And as they always said in the car, when you look at the difference between your rear view mirror and your windshield, the reason why your rear view mirror is so small compared to your windshield is because what's happening behind you is less important than what's happening in front of us. So I'm going to get you from 2023 to 2025, probably within about 10 minutes. That might be 9 minutes too long for most of you, but I apologize in advance. In 2023, we had an audit that was produced by Bob Oliva and his team. We have three funds in this town. We have a current fund, which basically handles police, public works, beach utility, and the sewer utility. The financials that resulted in that were that our fund balance at the end of 2023, which is a calendar year, 12/31/23, was 1.3 million for a current fund. The beach utility was about 726,000, and the sewer was 1.8 million. That audit resulted in 11 audit comments. And if you're wondering if that's a lot of comments, it is, and that's a problem. So when I got here, we had just done a corrective action plan for the 22 audit, which wasn't done previously to this administration. And once again, a lot of those audit comments were for repeat comments over the year. Out of the 11 audit comments, 9 were repeat audit comments. So those are things that we need to take care of. So that's 23. We are going to have a 24 audit. It's usually performed within 6 months at the end of the fiscal year. So by June 30th of this year, we should have a 24 audit completed, and we'll see where we stand. That being said, the corrective action plan is a little different than what we call a single action corrective action plan. That's for federal government, where you have to put more specifics. Basically, some of the comments were that, general fixed assets were not maintained on a current timely basis. We recommend general fixed assets be maintained on a timely basis. The corrective action plan is, we're gonna do that. But unfortunately, this happened in 23. So me standing here and telling you that that's been done, that's part of the process. We're gonna make sure in 2025 that we have reporting done for the 24 audit. So that being said, the corrective action plan is in front of you for tonight. That's similar to last time when we did a corrective action plan. Okay, so let's fast forward into 2024, a little bit of a better year in so much that as opposed to 23, we're actually able to reconcile the books with greater ease. There were a lot of hand grenades and some other accounting practices and record keeping that was kind of, I'd say, questionable and wasn't that the best practice. In 2024, you had a new chief financial officer, Mr. Ricky Gartz, who I'm happy to admit he's a friend of mine in the business. And he did yeoman's work to be able to get the records from 23 and do the financial. As you remember, just you trying to do the annual financial statement was very difficult, and he did accomplish that. And I'm happy to say that those figures obviously were basically held up to audit, because you obviously did a rough year during 2024. Now, an annual financial statement is an unaudited document. It's a bunch of pages here that was filed earlier today. And in essence, it is prepared by the chief financial officer, sometimes by the auditor, but in this case, as a CFO, this is what I used to do as an auditor back in the day. The annual financial statement has basically a snapshot as to where our finances lie as of 12/31/24. And I'm happy to report that in the current fund, we have an unaudited fund balance of about $2.3 million. The beach utility closer to 900,000, and then the sewer a little bit over 1.9 million. So currently, we are in a good position to evaluate what the budgetary needs are for this year, basically looking back at the 24 year. I'm also happy to report that your tax collector did her job, and we have a 98.9% collection rate, which helps things moving forward. So the AFS has been filed. That's a prerequisite in order to introduce a budget. That's why we're here tonight. The budget process is to familiarize all the folks that came out that otherwise would be kind of bored at the next cocktail party, but you'll be able to tell them the budget process of a municipality, I assure you. So tonight, we're going to be introducing a budget. That budget was crafted by the mayor and with myself in conjunction with the administrator to understand what the fiscal operations are needed for this year. The budget gets introduced, and then in a few days, probably by Friday, we'll have this uploaded into the state portal. And at that point, the state portal, also known as FAST, sometimes known as slow, but the acronym is FAST, will actually generate a certified introduced budget that will be turned over to the clerk and put on the website for public dissemination. So please, for those of us in the audience who like to Oprah, tomorrow's not a good day to open that budget. It's going to be here by Friday or certainly over the weekend. Those will be up on the website. In addition to the AFS, Madam Clerk, have you put that up on the?
I did, yeah.
Great. So actually, the AFS for 24, if you want to take a look at it and ask any questions at a later date of me personally, feel free. I prepare it. In that being said, our public hearing, based on some scheduling issues with my schedule and obviously the governing body, The public hearing on this will be on 6/5, June 5th at 6:30 p.m. Now, at that point, any members of the public can come up and talk about things. I went to a school board meeting one time where someone talked and spoke about budget, staples on Bill's list. And they said, I can't believe we buy $5,000 worth of staples at every Bill's list. And I said, that's Staples, the company. That being said, sometimes municipal budgets are sometimes hard to do. Having done this, I'm 55, so I've been 27, it comes naturally to me, but it's a language that's not always recognized. And therefore, I offered this to the mayor and the administrator, they took me up on it, that on May 15th at 6:30 in this room, I will be doing a public information section. That's not an official meeting of the governing body, that's John Barrett showing up as your chief financial officer and basically going through the budget document page by page. I remember those Bit of Honey commercials, any last request, and they go page and you're shooting, everybody would fall asleep. You might fall asleep, but if you're interested in the municipal budget, I would invite you to come out at that time to go through it. And I think it's very informative because I guess in the prior years, having read some newspaper reports and news media, there was a problem with the budget getting done in this town. So I don't want to see any of the governing body fined by the Division of Local Government Services. This should not be a contentious debate. This is simply a spending plan, it's subject to change, it's subject to the initiative of the mayor and governing body. And at this point, the budget that's about to be introduced, it raises the overall budget from 11.4 million, we're speaking about the current fund now, 11.4 million to $11.9 million. Now you say, okay, how does that equate to taxes? Because obviously at the end, you want to get a punchline, what's the bill going to be? In this municipality, based on this budget that we've crafted, besides your local library going up by $70,000 in taxation, which is a standard calculation based on assessed valuations, our levy is going up, I'm gonna round up to $229,000, which is year-over-year increase. And you say, okay, how does that happen? And why do we want to raise taxes? Well, no one wants to raise taxes. In fact, the mayor has been absolutely interrogating me on a regular basis with his red pen, his accounting background, in order to basically make sure we have a very sharp budget so that spending taxpayer dollars is very well valued and we're trying to find cost savings. That being said, we do have, add that 230,000 round, and we have over $160,000 of additional costs have been pushed down to this municipality. $44,000 in health insurance costs for the workers, which is somewhat conservative because the state health benefits has announced a 14% increase year over year, both for the cost of the employees and the taxpayers. And next year, they're expecting double-digit increases. So that's obviously a pressure with regard to health insurance. Pensions, $88,000. Public employee retirement system and police and fire retirement system, that gave us $88,000. Some additions in capital improvements. So we do have we do have a leaking roof that we want to make sure we include here. That's $12,000 more. And then our regular debt service, something like we would know as homeowners, your principal and interest payments for debt incurred for the current fund. And that basically is paying back infrastructure improvements, roads and other things of that nature. Now, with the strong collection rate of 98.9% last year, we can use that as a percentage to calculate the reserve fund collected taxes. Another drinking game mentioned, if you do want to use that term, if you ever hear that drinking at a party, please make sure you drink accordingly. Reserve fund collected taxes basically is that percentage of the appropriation. It says, look, we're not going to collect 100% of the taxes, but the county and the school want 100% of their levy. So the good news is with this high collection rate, our reserve for uncollected taxes is stable year over year, which is awesome. Now, with regard to the sewer utility, it's basically flat year over year. There's no demand for increasing sewer rates and the like. We've been able to find the revenue with regard to the usage and make sure that our debt service, pensions, and other costs are associated with that, including salaries and wages and other expense. Now, with regard to the beach utility, that is going to be something that when you look at this, you're going to say, listen, we increased our part of the revenue structure, not just usage of fees, but the appropriation of fund balance. In the old accounting world of assets minus liabilities equals fund balance, if it's a publicly traded company, assets minus liabilities equals stockholders' equity. That is your fund balance as taxpayers. And it's up to the governing body and of course the administration to determine how they're going to utilize that while maintaining fund balance targets year over year. This year, the governing body, in anticipation of doing the beach season opening, They passed a resolution to appropriate $225,000 worth of capital improvements. And those were for things like beach mats and showers and other things that were important to the mayor and the governing body to make sure that those were in place before Memorial Day. And I'm happy to report that those are moving forward, making progress. So just to also touch some things if people ask some questions. And of course, with beach utility, if I could clear up, there's no increase in the beach fees from what I know about, right? We're good on it. All right, making a blank comment. I didn't check.
Yes.
All right, good.
Slight $5 increase on lockers.
Okay, lockers will take because lockers are in demand and once again, immaterial to the greater budget, but we need to obviously maintain those. When we look at what 1 penny in taxation raises, it equates to $243,000 in spending. Last year, that would have been $225,000 because you had an increase in your rateable base. The net valuation tax rule includes all of the properties that are taxable. Municipal buildings wouldn't be, but clearly businesses, residences, and other things of that nature would be. So we've had an increase in our valuation. Now, the 2% levy cap, which was passed by Governor Christie, back, I think in 2010, he had that said that the soundbite that taxes couldn't raise more than 2% year over year. And there's also exclusions to that happen to include, as I said, what I mentioned before with health insurance, pensions, capital improvements and things of that nature. So I just like to caution the residents, obviously the governing body knows this, that, we try to keep our taxes flat year over year, but these downward pressures on spending certainly do have their effect on the overall spending. So the real question comes down to, how do you explain to residents in Bradley Beach, basically where their taxes are going? So I'm going to kind of give you something that, as far as a worksheet now, we at the municipality, we do not calculate the tax rate. We are in control of the local levy, which is what we're going to be eventually voting for, and they will levy taxes and be collected. But we act as a collection agency for the county and obviously the school, and in some ways the library through their municipal tax. When we have an average assessment, just for round numbers, and it will be contained in this budget document once we post it on the website. So I'm kind of pointing here, but I'm sure you're not all here for this moment, but this is the grand finale, so get ready. I said 9 minutes, maybe 10, okay? But when we look at a property which has $1 million average assessment, and we have to take something into consideration. If your assessment was the same in 24 as it is in 25, then your local purpose tax would actually go down by over $175. That's the portion that they had control over. Now, if your assessment went from $950 to $1 million, obviously that would be a little bit different. But the state sheets don't give us any kind of flexibility and kind of put in your average. But as I said, everything else being equal, your tax rate at this point will drop. Last year was 36.9 cents. It's going to go down to 35.1 cents, or down basically 1.8 cents. So rounded up about 2 cents on the taxation. Now, once again, that is a factor of your net valuation tax bill. It has gone up. The governing body right now could, if they so desire, but I can tell you, I'd be run out of here, not only by you, but by them. Because of that levy cap calculation I mentioned earlier, they could actually increase taxes over $440,000, which would have been close to a 2 cent tax increase. That's legal. They could have done it with a straight face and said, we're living within that 2% cap. But as I said, the mayor kept smacking my pen out of my hand every time I tried to even talk about raising taxes beyond what it is. So that being said, the public information sessions can be very beneficial to the residents who may have no understanding of it. I can assure you today that there is no stupid question. I've been doing this too long. It's a foreign language to some, but if you are interested, if you're coming for a drink of financial water, I might give you a garden hose or even a fire hydrant hose. You'll walk out of here very satiated as far as water. There's a bathroom outside I would offer to you, but also I hope that there's no commercial clother. Cy Sperling. My mother used to listen to a WOR radio up in New York. And there was this guy came on his own, Cy Sperling, goes, an educated consumer is our best customer. And that's what I want to make sure you as the governing body, obviously, I briefed them and they're absolutely on top of things. And also any members of the public that say, hey, what does municipal budget look like? So that being said, there is no public comment associated with an introduction of the budget that you'll do today. But certainly for any of the other topics, if there's anything the governing body would like to ask, I'd be happy to answer that for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna open it up to the council in a second. I want to provide one more second or two of overview. We are getting a late start on the budget process this year, largely driven by the fact we spent the first couple of months resolving a union contract that was unresolved for 2 years. We needed to know what the new salaries would be that we would be paying the union employees before we could reasonably set a 2025 budget. So I think the great news from the governing body standpoint is we were able to resolve the union contract. We do have the financial implications for that, which did result in increased salaries, especially because keep in mind, we were going back, salaries were largely frozen since 2022. So when we look at salaries that are gonna impact our budget in 25, there's a significant bump, 8 to 10%, depending on who and where. And if you thought of that over 1 year, you'd say, wow, that's a lot, but when it's over 3 years, it rounds out to roughly 3% per year. Nonetheless, we have to absorb that in this year's budget process. So a lot went on. What I want to make sure I point out for the benefit of our residents is that led by our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Barrett, we had a very open and very aggressive process in which the council had 5 or so days to review the very first draft of the budget. Had questions, Mr. Barrett made himself available to council members individually. They asked more questions. We bumped some numbers up, we bumped other numbers down. John, I know we're not gonna open it, the budget to questions, but you mentioned a number of things about taxes. You didn't actually say our estimated percentage levy increase. Are you able to share that with the public?
Yeah, actually, the levy percentage, we have at 2.75%. That's basically the increase in the levy of 229,000 divided by the prior levy from the prior year. So that's, I mean, obviously, this document, just to dovetail off that, would indicate that the percentage decrease was 4.82, but you made a certain point to say that we need to take into consideration that people's assessments went up. And in the state of New Jersey, it's an ad valorem tax. It's at the value of your property, so it's per $100. So if you took your assessment of $1 million, divided it by 100, times it by the 0.351, which is our estimated new tax rate, that would come up with your local portion of the municipal tax bill.
And one other comment I'd make generally is when we talk about this, when we talk about a 2.7% unit or whatever that was municipal tax increase, when you're paying your real estate taxes on your property, roughly the municipal number we're talking about, or the tax levy, is roughly 40% of your total tax bill. There's another roughly 20% tied to county, and there's another roughly 30 some odd percent tied to school, and there's a little chunk in there tied to the library as well. But what we control as in terms of setting your taxes is roughly 40% of your total tax bill. So that number should increase, that portion of your total should increase about 2.76% or so. So with that said, as an overview, any questions or comments from the council?
I'll just say, I drank from the fire hose the other day. I sat down and worked, and went through line by line. And a very thorough job, and I appreciate the time and the transparency and education that I received. And I would urge anybody who has that interest to come to the meeting and meet with John for more detailed understanding, because it is enlightening, and to really understand the numbers and how they work and what does it really mean, to your pocketbook and to the borough. So I just want to appreciate that time you spent.
Comments or questions?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for that, May 15th session coming up, and I want to know if your hands are, the mayor keeps smacking.
I can assure you, I've tried to quit a few times, but he coaxed me back into the room. Sorry. It was not easy. I've worked with a lot of mayors. It's always a positive when they have an accounting background and also they care about the community as much as he does. So as a CEO, it's been a pleasure to work with you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, well, thank you. The CFO tried to limit me to 30 questions, but we negotiated that I could roll up multiple questions into one as A, B, C, D sub questions. So thank you for that time. Another person who did some hand slapping of me was Council President DeNoble. She saw this number that began over 3%, which I felt we had done a pretty good job working that number hard. And council president got us down what turned out to be another almost full percent. So, so Jane, I want to tip my hat to you as well. Thank you.
I also wanted to thank Mr. Barrett for all the time you took with us as we went through line by line of this budget. It was informative and instructional, so I very much appreciate it. I wanted to throw two questions out to you.
Sure.
What percentage of the budget is fixed? And what percentage can you control with fiscal prudence? Generally,
So I don't have those exact percentages if you sent me, but yeah, I'm gonna give you some generalities. So when we look at debt service for a municipality, that is non-negotiable. We're paying back debt that was purchased or issued, I should say, in prior years for prior capital improvements. So debt service is one of them. One of the bigger part of your budget happens to be with regard to your pension obligations. And just to give the folks a little bit of a background on that, and certainly not to single out the police chief who happens to be sitting over there. But once again, the pension system that he is in compared to, say, our administrator, his is the police and fire. So that's always a large number. In the current fund budget is $810,000. And for the allocation for the public employees, that would be $218,000 or almost $220,000. So some of the things that are certainly union contracts will not be discretionary. It's not that we're going to buy a pen or lose it, buy a pencil. So ultimately, your union contracts, which are covered basically with independent contracts, individual, I should say, and the bargaining units, pretty much every employee is covered. So those are set out for the next few years. With regard to maintenance agreements, sometimes our departments, for instance, Edmunds is our financial software. They charge us a fee every year. That's not gonna be someone to say, hey, listen, we're not paying that this year. So the reality is when you hone down, there's very few categories with regard to the OE expense. And for the benefit of the public, there's two categories of operating expenses: salaries and wages and other expense. Other expense could be car maintenance, vehicle maintenance, and things of that nature, where S&W or salaries and wages is the employee salaries across the town.
great, thank you. And one other question, and this is,
I'm actually gonna add that to his question. He's at 30 right now, just for.
I think I exceeded the 30 yesterday. Can you explain very briefly where the net revenue from the sale of 319 Lorraine, the site and the artifacts, where it goes and how it can be used? Because that's going to be happening this year.
Right, so let's take a look at that, because I remember this gentleman here asked me that question my first night. We were talking about the half-hour presentation on 6 pages of the debt service statement. So I don't know the exact specifics, so let's use some roundabout numbers. So there was a capital ordinance passed to acquire and demolish that structure. And obviously, that is going to take place based on, future progression. So there was debt service associated with that. So in the example, and once again, just pull numbers and generalities, that you issued $1 million worth of debt, and you were to incur, say, another $500,000 worth of cleanup costs and other things of that nature. And then you sold it for $3 million. So we have $3 million as a revenue with $1.5 million as a total expense. Once again, those numbers out of my head right now. So when you do sell that property, the first thing you're gonna need to do is retire the debt associated with that property. So you borrowed money and issued debt, we gotta retire that with the $3 million. Now, say the 1.5 million net in this example, some municipalities in the past would have taken it as general revenue. Hey, it's revenue, all of a sudden fund balance goes up by $1.5 million. And elected leaders will beat their chest saying, hey, look what we did. But the reality is this, that when we do receive that type of money, we have to reserve it on the balance sheet as a reserve for sale of municipal assets. It then becomes a policy decision. Now, I'm not going to say you would do this, but let's say a new governing body were to see that reserve, they could say, hey, listen, let's reduce taxes by $1.5 million. And all of a sudden you have a decline in your tax rate and everybody, does the happy dance. And then next year, you realize that that was one-time revenue that can't get replaced. When you start selling buildings, that's now not your new business, right? So my suggestions to the mayor and the governing body, certainly the administrator, is that once that net reserve shows up on your balance sheet, if it comes out to 1.5 million, it's prudent for the governing body to kind of use it as a tax stabilization fund. If the penny on your taxes is close to, $250,000, then maybe for the next few years, maybe 6 years, you might include a portion of that revenue into the budget and basically offset. But once again, to do that EKG, if your tax rate goes up, your tax rate goes down, I'm all a proponent slow and steady wins the race. I'd like to see that because obviously I just showed you $160,000 outside of any kind of contractual obligations has risen your expenses year over year. So that's really where you have the options, and that becomes a policy decision between you and the mayor as to how you want to utilize that. My advice in public and in private was keep it as a tax stabilization fund. It's not titled that on the balance sheet, it's a reserve for sale of municipal assets, but utilize that over a period of time when you do have, say, big increases. I'm not getting political here because I don't pay your taxes and I don't live in town, but when we look at the federal government and certain things that are happening with tariffs and cost of goods sold and gasoline prices a few years ago spiked and there was no relief in the cap calculations for that. So once again, if there are any kind of hard material costs that are fluctuating due to incoming tariffs or anything of that nature, that's maybe when you take a look at that and say, it might be prudent to start using a portion of that in order to mitigate taxes. And once again, repeated, the money's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be in your coffers. You're going to be earning interest on that 1.5 million in that scenario. But once again, how you deploy that money, I would advise you to do it over a thoughtful period of time.
Thank you.
Okay, and John, any questions or thoughts? Okay. John, as you mentioned, we won't be taking public questions or comments about the budget.
Introduced budget, correct?
The
That's not for
introduced-
tonight.
Right, but there will be an opportunity to ask questions about the other comments, the audit and the AFS.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a few minutes. So with that said, we'll move to following item 5, the workshops. We have an item, resolution 2025. I'll make a motion that -141. I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2025-141, the introduction of the 2025 municipal budget to be read by title only.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Item 7 on the agenda, approval of the minutes. I'll make a motion that we approve the April 1st, 2025 council business meeting minutes.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
I'll abstain since I wasn't at the meeting last time.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. We are now at item 8 on the agenda, public comments. So we'll open it up to the public for any questions you have or comments you have related to any items on tonight's agenda,
Workshop too.
and including the workshop too. Brigitte?
Brigitte McGuire, 6 Timberley Ave. I had some questions after reading through the 2023 corrective action plan. And first I'll start with the comment. It was nice to see that all the cash reconciliations were there. I have to say it was mind-blowing to see Provident Bank had 23 accounts, Kearney Bank had 6 accounts, and PNC had 15 accounts. And I wanted to ask the CFO, is it normal for a municipality to have so many accounts, but also in so many different banks?
I think you're on the microphone.
Okay.
Move you to the side, I apologize.
That's okay.
Every bank account that we have, say at Provident Bank, there was a migration from PNC prior to my arrival, so there's a few dollars left in the old accounts that we're trying to clear over. But yes, every bank account is associated with a fund. So whether it be sewer operating, sewer utilities, sewer capital. general capital, the beach, utility. So there's a number of accounts, and what stinks about that is I gotta reconcile them, so I'm not too happy about that on a regular basis, but when you were to commingle funds, they would say, it's like, put all in one general bank account, it becomes a reconciliation nightmare. Red Bank many years ago, had another CFO there, so you have to look up, I won't say his name, but he thought it'd be a good idea to do that, and they couldn't unpack what happened during that year. So right now, I would suggest that while we have these other two accounts, at PNC and, what was the other you mentioned?
Provident,
Well, Provident we're keeping.
Carney.
Carney, yeah, so those are the ones that we are actually migrating away. The majority of our transactions are at the Provident Bank.
Okay,
So that's pretty common. Like I said, that's directly to people.
okay, thank you. With all the different trusts, is that something that I, as a resident, can request statements of for like the last couple of years?
That would be, in essence, an answer for the clerk to answer as part of Oprah. In the annual financial statement on sheet 9, you will see all of the accounts listed, their amounts. I don't know any hesitation on that, but I would offer to you this. Oprah requests are obviously time consuming, and sometimes people want it, and I've not you, because I don't know you, I've never met you. I'm gonna talk about any town elsewhere than Bradley Beach.
Okay.
But sometimes we have residents who, will just Oprah records for the sake of harassment. For the sake of a power trip, being disrespected in public at a council meeting, like, hey, screw you, I'm gonna Oprah you, whatever, okay? I would offer to you that if you have any questions with regard to the accounts, give me a call.
Just
I'll be
ask.
happy to walk you through. We have them all in PDF. Certainly, we're happy to share them with you, but as I said, the outside independent auditor is also obviously looking for irregularities.
Okay.
You know, those type of things. So
Yeah.
rest assured that whether you have met before or anybody in this audience, that you have an outside counsel, Bob Oliver and his team, who have confirmed accounts, have proved out the deposit in transit at the end of the year, have reconciling checks. You have somebody already doing that for you. So if you're looking for data as far as what our balances are, I will refer you to the AFS, which is currently online, which will have all the trust fund balances, story label, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So if there's any questions, feel free to call me, or email me at the CFO email address. I would love to help you, because I gotta tell you, this wonderful clerk over there, let's just say she does a lot of work and a lot of over, so I always like to, you know, sometimes I had a resident who, operated all the legal bills in the town, and I went to me in the clerk's office, said, well, can I help you phone this in? Home this in, he said, I just need this one vendor. I'll come back in 5 minutes, here you go. But once
Okay.
again, I would hope that, give us a call first, me a call directly, open transparency, you know, it's not, I don't know dog in this hunt.
I appreciate it. It's not something we've been used to having, so that's why I'm asking these questions.
And that's also the reason why I suggested to the mayor and governing body, as well as the administrator, to have that public information session, because whatever confidence been shipping up here over the years, it's not gonna continue under my watch.
Okay.
I started as a governmental auditor for municipalities and school boards. I was solicited by the state to go into distressed cities. I got assigned to 2 distressed cities independently as an auditor, as a CFO, and got them out early, because you just can't fudge the number. You gotta be transparent.
Great.
Both those towns are in living, so it's after them.
Thank you so much. And let's see. This might fall under one of the same answers you just gave. When we look at, these old expenditures on, like, from the AFS that's up, is that 2024?
Right.
If you look at expenditures on there, that are questionable, are you able to get receipts? Are you able to see the receipts so that if I did call you to ask you what, like, where that went? Are you able to help me
Yeah. So,
figure that out?
yes, my mother said never answer yet. So the answer is yeah. So our admin software, has some capabilities. If you were to really look at it, once again, I would invite you to that budget session I'm gonna do.
Yes. I'll do
Because
that.
I'll make it broad. I'll make it as, you know, covering a few different things. But ultimately, the annual financial statement has summarized expenditures. The budget document actually shows what was paid or charged last year. So cash out the door, open purchase orders, every single dollar that comes in and comes out of this town either has a purchase order or a deposit receipt. and those are reconciled on a monthly basis. So if you said to me, listen, I want to see, I don't know, every expenditure in the animal control trust, I would ask you what years you want to do it. And it easily, based on the Edmunds software, we have up to 9 years before they purge it and put it into another turf or whatever they call that. All those records are preserved as permanent records. But for the last 9 years, I can go into my office right now and run you an expense detail report of anything you want.
Okay, so I guess I'm not questioning what you'll give me, but do you think you'll be able to provide that from what you're seeing in 2023 and 2024
So,
here, like what happened and
sure, so are you asking me for, and I apologize, I never met you before, right? Say it's a term.
we never met before.
Never even heard my name. But ultimately, any kind of expense detail, I can acquire with regard to Edmunds.
Okay,
Now, as far as going back, as I mentioned at the beginning, that the rear view mirror is a lot smaller because of what happened behind us. I'm not here to relitigate whatever's happened, I'm here to look
Right.
forward. But certainly at any point in time for the last 9 years, and certainly audits going back to the incorporation of this town, that you have some information that you'd be able to pull out and do whatever you want with it. But as I said, call me first, because I don't want you hitting Eric with always up here.
yeah, that's no problem.
I'm really happy to help you. And once again, if you're looking for something, I can help you get to where you need. As opposed to taking a shotgun, we can take a second life, we'll get whatever information you need, okay?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Are there other questions in the room? Show of hands. I see Herb Kenny. Herb, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I have just one quick question, and it's a little bit of a question, but it's more of a recommendation. The people who know me have been pretty outspoken the last couple of years of how the state of New Jersey is so lenient on to allowing a 2023 audit to be released in 2025, and then look at corrective actions that never get finished. I would strongly recommend, Mayor, that the council and Mr. Barrett create actually an action plan of how you're going to address the corrective actions. You know, the state, accepts such a ridiculous response from towns basically saying, okay, you need to do this, and your corrective action is, okay, we will do it. But there's never anybody assigned to do that job, put a date on when it will be completed or say what they're going to do to complete it. I really think, this town has gone through, with Mayor Fox, no action on any of these corrective actions. But it would be great if Mr. Barrett and the council and the mayor can put together an action plan and actually update us that you're actually completing these plans. It just seems every year the list, just continues to grow with nothing done from the prior years. So I just think it would be great if, you could update the town that you've actually checked this off instead of, just sending back some dubious response that we're going to do it. That's just my recommendation.
If I could, Mayor, I agree with the caller or the person on Zoom. It is frivolous. It is, hey, we're gonna do it. We suggest this. But the reality at this point is I'm more concerned about the audit of 24 to be presented to you, the governing body, during the summer, so we can see what happened during 24. Because ultimately, I have a prior CFO who was here, who obviously was a former municipal auditor, registered municipal accountant, and would have taken consideration as to the audit comments. Now, he was not here to receive the 23 audit comments. And right now, the focus really has to be on what the results of operations were for 24, what things were not covered, and what things that will become comments or management letter comments to us at the municipality. And I assure you that I took over Hamilton Township many years ago. They had a $79,000 fund balance. Over years, I turned it to 10 million. And I also inherited over 55 audit comments, and the audit was 2 years late. We got that down to 0 audit comments. That's what I like to do. There's very few things I get more enjoyment about, but clean audits. Don't tell my wife.
I understand that, but every year we hear that response. That
Well, you heard.
we don't want to go. We don't want to go backwards. We want to worry about going forward. So I understand your rear view mirror comment, but sometimes we just never get out of the rearview mirror. So appreciate your visibility and your time. It's a lot more than we've had in the last 3 years. Thank you.
And Mr. Kenny, as you know, I am myself an auditor by training many years ago. I 100% agree with you. Part of our challenge as a municipality has been just catching up. The audits the last 2 years, 2022 and 2023, were so late in arrival that by the time we received them, we were already beyond the period that we could take corrective action. As Mr. Barrett said, we are anxiously awaiting the 2024 audit, which should arrive June 30, 25.
It should be completed, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt. It should be completed within 6 months. They've extended that to August. So I was told that during the end of the summer, we were preparing, giving them the financials. In the meantime, encouraging them to get here to kind of make amends for these delays that have happened in prior years.
And we will, as a governing body, make that commitment that we will have specific reporting out as to what actions have been taken. We want to get to the point Mr. Barrett described of having 0 audit comments in the subsequent years. Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Luann Bartlett, 312 Main Street. And here we are. I was here 2 months ago and 310 Main Street is still not settled. So I want to know how you can put forth a resolution when you have a court case against them pending. Can you answer me that question? Can anybody answer me that question?
What resolution are you specifically?
You have a resolution on the docket tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry, you said 310 Main.
Yeah, 310 Main,
Okay.
that's
Darcy.
Darcy's. So I have no problem with, well, I do have a problem. I have a problem that shell is still up, those outdoor buildings are still there, and I don't understand why. This is having a substantial financial impact on all businesses on the 3 and 200 block of Main. And you obviously don't care about us. You're showing special preference to one business, okay? Now, I do know that you couldn't spot zone or whatever it's called, and you lumped in Marandolas and Uvas, and it says right here that Marandolas can serve food and beverage in certain parking areas. And it says the same thing for Uvas. But in Darcy's, it says the whole parking lot. How is that possible? You're breaking your own codes. He doesn't have a handicap parking place there. What else? It just goes on and on. You are in violation with the ADA compliance. You need a handicap parking space. Am I wrong, sir? Because you can tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I got wrong information from the ADA.
Well, I think the only, just to help you understand the process tonight, when you say, we are in violation or we are responding to an application that's been made by each of these businesses as to whether or not we are willing to create a special event that enables them to get to the land use board.
Sir,
Well, that's what
that
we're
has
doing
been up
tonight.
there for 5 years now. It started for COVID and then no one all winter. We could have had parking all winter. Why do you allow it to stay up all winter when it's not in use? I don't understand for the life of me. Please explain it to me, Mr. Mayor. I don't know. And one another thing was last Saturday or Sunday, I'm in Bradley Beach. And the staff is parking their vehicles under the tent. Parking is horrendous in Bradley Beach, you know that. And I said it before, 2 months ago when I was here, you weren't here, Mr. Mayor, I said, you wanna put it up in the summer, put it up in summer. I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but for summer, yes. But why is it sitting there all winter and not being used? And my business is suffering. You could come look at my books, Mr. Auditor, because my business is suffering and there's a bunch of people here that their businesses are suffering for it. I am down. Okay, so can you help us out? Why are you showing special preference to one business? Just answer me that question.
First of all, we haven't voted. Secondly, we're not showing special preference.
Okay,
A business made an application and they applied for parking, another applied for back of their building.
okay, I'll rest it there, but the other thing I'm gonna ask of all 4 or 5 of you, hi Jane. Jane, always like Jane, she's a fair person. I wanted to poll everyone and say, do you think this is fair? The inequity and the unfairness to the other businesses, all in Bradley Beach, is not fair. Can I poll you, Jane, do you think it's fair, what's going on?
I think right now it's comments and
Okay, okay.
we'll
So
vote.
my last comment is, please, I know I'm upset, but it's been going on for years. I started this thing in September with emails to all of you. I think you weren't there maybe, sir, and you two weren't there. But I started it in September because I knew in November it was over, that they were gonna take it down. So I ask you not to vote on Darcy's tonight. You can vote on Uva's because they're only using a couple parking spaces. You can vote on Maridella's because he's in the back of his building. But do not approve Darcy's. It's not fair. Can you let us make some money? Thank you. Thank you.
The comments? Yes.
Enough is enough. 5 years.
My name is Dr. Bill Quill. I own 318-316 Main Street, Bradley Beach. My family has directly owned property since 1920, Bradley Beach, so I know Bradley Beach well. Main Street is a vibrant area, but if you don't have parking, the area is going to go downhill. Asbury, people don't even go to Asbury sometimes unless they live in a town because parking's horrendous. Normally, the state has said, okay, 75% of the outdoor space, if you have parking, you need 75%. The rest of it, you gotta use a parking space. You should have a handicap spot. Darcy's has none of that. Bradley Beach asked Darcy's nicely, please take down the stuff during the winter, because it's not being used. But for some reason, they don't want to spend a nickel on making the neighbors happy and taking it down. So our business are hurt. My tenants hate the parking there. It's hard. When I have a rental coming up, they go, where's your place? Oh, it's there? Oh, parking sucks. So it's miserable, you know? But Bradley Beach has to say, okay, summertime is great to get outside, but during the winter, be fair. Take the spot down, take a few bucks, take down the permanent structure, the fence, and the back building, and let people park during the winter. Be fair. Don't be a pig about it for a few bucks. You're making a lot of money outside. You serve good food, good drinks, but you know, you have to be fair to everybody else. Okay? That's what I'm saying. Be fair. And you're not fair. You just don't, you wanna have that place 24/7, 365 days a year. And that hurts us. You know, just be a good neighbor. That's what I'm saying. But right now, you're not a good neighbor. You just be,
Excuse me,
you know,
sir.
you just want all the money and you don't want to spend it when they put down a couple of little signs.
Excuse me, if you address comments to us, not to the audience.
What?
You have to address us and not.
That was the, I have faced the wrong way.
Right.
Sorry, I'm not used to that.
That's okay, no problem. You
Okay,
did a good job.
that's it.
Thank you.
What was that? Dr. Bill Quill, BILGRIL.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Are there other comments in the audience? Yes, sir. Right.
Hi, Brian Downey, 619 4th Avenue. I'm gonna reiterate some of the things I already been said here. In January 14th, we had a meeting here, right? And it was hosted by Mentor. And can you please state the topic of the discussion of that meeting and who was here as well?
There are about 12 or 13 business owners, property owners, right around Darcy's on Main Street, including yourself, property owner up the street on Fourth. Topic of conversation was the parking lot at Darcy's and the fact that it was closed off.
And what was the general consensus of that group?
That Darcy's should be found in violation of existing zoning because they weren't providing any parking as they're required to in their variance. They're required to have 18 parking spaces and they were providing 0.
And they were found in violation.
Yes, there was a violation notice in,
Currently,
in January.
and they still are in violation.
Correct.
Okay. Let's see. And it's still there, obviously. And who issued the notice of violation?
Code enforcement.
Okay, and so it's not necessarily these people, this council.
No.
And panel. Okay. But they're gonna be the ones that decide tonight.
Correct.
Okay, so I guess I just wanted to clarify that for everybody in case they didn't quite pick up everything. So we established that they are in a violation. So I'm gonna refer to the people that were here at that meeting as a community. And people, I think that's pretty fair. And I would like to define the word community for you guys, just so you guys can wrap your head around that. And it's people with common interests living in a particular area, a group of people with common characteristics or interests living together within a larger society, and a body of persons of common and especially professional interest scattered through a larger society. And I'm gonna define individual, which would be a single human being as contrasted with a social group or institution, a single organism as distinguished from a group or intended for one person. So you guys are basically making a decision on whether you're voting for the community or the individual. In my opinion, so, thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there other comments? Yes, sir.
I have a comment about one of the other restaurants, and I think it makes sense for me to follow the Darcy's.
Rebecca, could you state your
Sorry.
name, please? Address.
Rebecca Kaplan, 409 Brindley. But like I said, I want to talk about one of the other restaurants, so it makes sense for me to follow all the Darcy's votes. So if there's more Darcy's votes, I happily cede to them first.
Are there other comments or questions? Okay, yes, sir.
Stephen Bartlett, 312 Main Street. I work and live next door, so every day we get UPS. Every day we get customers. Parking is at a premium. I've said this many times before. It's just like you have the business with parking that's not being used. That's a ripple effect on the entire town. You lose one spot, it's nuts. So to keep granting these resolutions or proposing these resolutions, it's every time it's affecting parking more and more and more. It's just, it doesn't make much sense for there to be a parking lot that's not used as a parking. I get like people like the bar, they like their sports ball, and soccer's great, okay, but if it's affecting other people who are completely innocent and absolved of any of the doings of the town and the wants and needs of a particular business, and that's a detriment to me, that's a problem, and the town needs to address it appropriately where it's beneficial for everyone. It's gone on for a very long time. I get it. Whether there's outside things that have been said and discussed amongst people, I don't know. I can only presume whatever, fill in the blank, but it's gotta stop. It's like, it's kind of ridiculous. That's all, balls in your court, guys.
Thank you. Other comments? Show of hands. Yes, sir.
Andy Bartlett, 312 Main Street. Where is that? Now, when they got permission to put the upstairs and the open deck on, there were supposed to be 36 parking places. They had it reduced to 18. Now you're reducing to nothing. Actually, really want to get technical, the deck was supposed to be an open air deck. Now they enclosed it for 12-month use. That increased the parking problem. Handicap did that, they don't have that. Yeah, and the outside deck was supposed to have a maximum of 3 tables with 4 persons each. You go there, count Right now, there's more than that up there. So they're getting away with that. They're just increasing their occupancy and taking away the park. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have another hand on Zoom, Alice Morton.
Okay, you're just looking, anyone else in the room? We'll come back to you, Rebecca.
Again, I'll follow all the Darcy's votes.
Alice, Markin?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I joined late, so forgive me. It's more of a question that I'm just curious about. There's a lot of restaurants in town that have no parking. How is it different? You know, I love all the outdoor spaces, love all the restaurants. I walk to them all, so parking is not really an issue for me. But if you look at Del Ponte's, Scratch, all these other restaurants that don't have any parking, how is that any different than eliminating parking from some of the larger restaurants that have it? I mean, I do think we need more parking, but I think part of that solution is probably something like, you know, a parking lot on Memorial where some of these empty spaces are where people could just walk over. So I'm just curious, is there a reason why certain restaurants have to have parking but others don't?
It's very, very specific to, please, everyone. It's specific to our zoning requirements, ordinances. So for example, there are many buildings that you mentioned that have no parking and have been grandfathered to this day. As one restaurant leaves and another restaurant comes in, if they don't have parking and they're grandfathered, they don't have to provide parking. On the other hand, other buildings have had parking and, you know, and under our ordinances are required to have parking to some degree, depending on the tables, depending on various measures. But the answer is going to vary property by property.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious because it seems it's only certain restaurants that have to have the parking available.
It starts out, everyone has to, but then it comes down to facts and circumstances of what's available.
All right, thanks.
Any other comments or questions?
We comment on that?
I'm sorry, sir, we're trying to get limited to,
Very quick.
okay, please.
They just, you know, about the restaurants, but since Darcy's taken over the restaurant, they expanded the business. So that's a big difference than having a regular restaurant with so many people. Now they expanded the business, so that you can take up more parking, because they have a bigger business now, almost the size of the parking lots, like 50% more at least.
Thank you. Rafet, did you want to?
Yes, with that Kaplan 409 Brinley. I'm here to speak in support of the Pagano's application. And I very much hope that the very legitimate questions that have just been raised about Darcy's, I'm familiar with them. I have friends who live next door. I know the problems there. I just hope all of that doesn't cast a negative shadow over the Pagano's application. For those who don't know, the Paganos came to Bradley Beach 40 years ago. I know because I had a rental house around the corner. They kept me alive that summer. I'll spare you that story. They have been integral and critical to the development of the restaurant business in this town. To me, they're an example of how you do everything right in this town. The space that we're talking about, I was surprised to see that this is listed as a parking issue. To me, the 2-day tiki bar, as those of us who frequent it refer to it, it wasn't a parking issue. I didn't even know there was parking there. Apparently, it's a couple of parking spots. What it really is just a notch in the back of the building. And by the way, they own the properties on either sides. It's the sort of, forgive me, not so attractive back of a restaurant that you see on an alley in many other places. On the other side of the alley is a large parking facility that I've never even seen full. There's plenty of parking there. So it's not an issue of parking. It's not an issue of noise as far as I know, because I've been in there even when they've had music and they sat us literally next to the guy on the guitar playing some songs I liked, some songs not so much, but it was fine, it was great. So to me, rather than penalize them and say, you can't have this, I think he should be commended. I think he should get an award for turning around the space. And good for Mrs. Pagano, who to this day, yes, 40 years later, makes fun of me for falling asleep at 2 a.m. in her restaurant. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments, any further? Go ahead, yes, sir.
Paul Hebert, 506 McCabe Avenue. Everybody's questioning about parking, and the one business in town is closed from Halloween until a little earlier. And they put a chain across the parking lot. There's about 30 parking spots in that lot. That could probably be used for other people, businesses, and nobody complains about that, and it just blows my mind. That's the topic. What's right?
Are there any further comments before we close public discussion? Yeah. Okay, thank you all very much.
Mayor, if I may, just on, going back to our CFO's presentation on May 15th. There's a scheduling conflict. There's a land use board meeting at the same time at 6:30 here on May 15th. So just so the public knows, probably to figure out the schedule.
How's the 14th look? Matt, do you know? I'm sorry.
14?
14th is open. All it competes with is the spring bocce league.
I promise you I can beat the turnout for
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. The 14th it is, then, okay?
So for the public, the 14th.
And we'll obviously put it up on the website as well, publicize it. If Madam Clerk says it's good.
Thank you, Matthew, for bringing that to our attention.
Good, 14th it is.
Okay, we will,
On the Main Street, Bradley Beach. Again, I'd like to thank you all for having the meeting today. It's really important to us, business owners in town, and been here for a long time. As stated, 40 years now in Bradley Beach. We're, to have this meeting tonight, it's necessary and we appreciate it all. We would like to get set up for the summertime, make sure that we could hire people to work in the outdoor dining area. We've been in town for over 40 years. This is what it comes down to. We've been here, we've tried our best. Not saying I'm better than anyone else, not saying that I've done anything wrong. It's just that I've been here for a while. We only look for the good. We only want to keep improving the town. We have a great little area back there. It doubles as a town square, honestly. People go there to meet. They meet their neighbors. They didn't even know who they were a couple minutes before that. They enjoy themselves. They have dinner. They usually walk home or ride their bicycle. It's an area that has become essential to us, especially since COVID. It really has been difficult since then. People don't stay out as long as they used to. People don't spend like they used to. It seems like people still kind of timid about going out and being inside. And being a summer area, being a summer restaurant, and having most of our business during that time of year, it would be very beneficial for us to have something of this nature, obviously. It doesn't add as much as you would think it does to our capacity. Most of the people that would be coming anyway, instead of going inside, just sit outside. Honestly, our inside bar, my bartenders inside are getting a little bit aggravated sometimes. That we have. We appreciate it again. And honestly, I just want to make one comment, if it's at all possible. I know that this is scheduled to be until the zoning board meeting of July 15th, I believe. The issue that we have is that if, perhaps something comes up where it's not going to be, it's not too detrimental to the project, but it's just enough to let them deny the zoning at that time. The next meeting for the town would be in August, I believe in August 5th for council and August 21st for zoning. That becomes an issue with hiring, if it's at all possible. Again, I know that there's a lot asking, but if it's at all possible to be able to get that extended to at least the 5th for the next zoning board meeting in case we need to do another bump up for a month for a special permit. If you say yes, and I'm very sorry to be so presumptive, but again, we really like this town, man. We still been here, we've been here for 40, 50 years, it's nothing. I can't say anything bad about it. You guys have fed us, you guys have been good to us, involved in really nice and understanding, and have taken us in as family. And we don't want to abuse anything. We wouldn't abuse anything. We wouldn't try to abuse anything. And I speak for myself, and I'm sure about all the businesses in town that we really just appreciate all you guys have done for us, and hopefully continue to, keep it going. Maybe not 40 years, but 15 years. Thank you.
I will ask once again, are there any other questions or comments? Anyone out in the hallway back there that wants to be recognized?
Anybody in the hallway want to call? Is there, I just wanted some clarity. What business are you, sir, what business were you speaking of? Uber, okay, because the story sounded very familiar to the Darcy's situation as well. I was a little confused. You know, I mean, it serves as a town square. People go there to meet, people go there to enjoy themselves. People go there and have dinner. I don't see I see a lot of similarities between the two. I think
Sir, can we get your name and address, please?
My name?
Yes,
Sure. Andrew Check. Stelmar, New Jersey, 316-42,000.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
How do you spell your last name?
CHEK.
Thanks.
I appreciate the clarity on that.
Hello. Mr. McGill.
Tom McGill. Guys, thanks for everybody coming, and I really appreciate the opposition. I mean, it's good.
Mr. McGill, you have to address the mayor, I'm sorry. If you can just address the mayor.
Yeah, you gotta talk to us.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
That's okay.
I'm not used to doing this.
That's okay.
You're doing it.
But I appreciate the feedback from all the people, you know, the three Bartlett's and Brian, you know, I know them very well, and I'm hoping to work with them in the future about this. But it's a really important item, the parking. I know parking is an issue. However, I'm wondering if our customers aren't the ones that really have to go find another parking spot. You know, that's the reality of it. And I hope that we can all work together, the mayor, the council, and I appreciate the mayor and the council bringing this to me on, you know, pretty short notice. And we put it together, and we're here to do whatever we can to make Bradley Beach better and to hopefully work together with all the businesses around it. I'm there at 365. If somebody says they tried to speak to me, they haven't tried hard enough, because I'm there all the time and anybody can.
Please, no comments. I'm
I'm
sorry.
Should I let her?
No, please continue.
Just come and speak to me and we can try to work it out. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments back outside the room that want to raise a hand that I can't see? Are we good? Okay. In that case, we will close. Is there?
I think we have.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Can I go from here?
No, nice try.
Eden, sorry, 116 York Avenue. I'm here on behalf of UVA. We've all celebrated many great occasions together at UVA. And to clarify, the space that the tiki bar at UVA takes up isn't parking space. It's like a notch, and where they used to keep the garbage cans and stuff, the parking lot in the back is still completely available, all the spaces are available, so it's not the same thing. And losing the tiki bar would be a disappointing thing for us for the summer. You know? Yes. That's it.
Looking at, I don't see any other hands. We're gonna, going once, going twice. Okay, we are going to move on to ordinances, item number 9 on the agenda. We have an introduction tonight for ordinance 2025-14. It's an ordinance amending Article 7, Arts Committee of Chapter 24. Okay. The Arts Committee of Chapter 24 commissions and committees of the borough's revised general ordinances to rename the borough's Arts Council in honor of Julia Sandra Rand and adding alternate members to the Arts Council. Is there comments or conversation?
I just want to share that this is really to update where we're going with the Arts Council. With 7 members, we've added 2 alternates and 1 ex officio member. So that, and of course, the renaming of the Arts Council.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? For the council? Okay, I will make a motion then, or would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-14.
Second,
Ms. DeNoble?
Shauna, I'd like to thank you so much for all your work on this. This is a wonderful thing. Yes.
Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
yes. Okay, there are no ordinance adoptions tonight, and we've already covered item 10 on the agenda, the communication, so we'll move to,
You have 15.
I'm sorry,
Ordinance 15,
what did I miss?
that's for the parking.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Ordinance 2025-15, another introduction, amending chapter 335 for what's, we are now titling, parking regulated. Basically, this particular amendment is changing the language that existed in our ordinances related to parking meters. Because if you haven't heard, parking meters are going away in Bradley Beach this summer. We're moving to Park Mobile. You download an app on your phone, you do a transaction by your phone. Meters are gone, pay stations will be gone. And this is amending our ordinance to reflect that language. Any comments or questions?
I have 2 questions. So are we actually going to be removing the physical meters that are on the ocean front?
That is the plan, yes.
Okay, and just to clarify, will there be 1 zone for all of the summer parking?
Yes,
So that kind of simplifies it. You don't have to
Hopefully.
put a zone in.
correct,
Okay, thank you.
correct. Any other comments or questions? I'd like to make a motion then that we approve the introduction of ordinance 20.
Oh, no, after you, Mayor, I just want to make an announcement. We found something's phone.
We left their
Oh.
phone in the restroom.
Someone leave their phone in the restroom?
Men's room, I was listening.
Does anyone know Danielle DeJoria? Uh-oh. What's that? That one?
Okay.
Want to face that?
Okay, we'll leave it on the front table. Someone's gonna figure out they've misplaced it at some point. And I was right in the middle of a very exciting motion to approve the introduction of ordinance 2025-15, amending our chapter 335 parking regulated.
Okay, there's that.
Second.
Does I ask a question on that specifically or not?
You can, unfortunately, we're on introductions. We don't have public comment.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. Now we will pass item 10, communications on the agenda, and we've already covered that, and move to resolutions. Starting with the consent agenda resolutions. Are there any comments, questions, voting, any items out?
I had a question, we are regularly approving pass-through walks and runs on the ocean front. And I guess most of these pass-throughs do not require any kind of a deposit. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right, and I just want to ask the question, do some of these actually incur manpower or labor to the borough?
No, not pass-throughs.
Not at all, even when they do a turnaround within the borough?
No,
Once or twice we've been surprised, but as a rule.
but as a rule, no.
And for the record, we are planning on revisiting this ordinance at some point to, well, the ordinance that governs special events, to determine if there might be a better way to address that in the future.
Thank you.
But as a rule, our clerk is very thorough in her interrogation to make sure that there's
Being ridiculous, everybody, just so you all know.
no police or DPW resources, or else
I am.
we wouldn't have this comment typically. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda resolutions 2025-144, 142 through 2025-145.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Individual resolutions, starting with 2025-146, the audit of the corrective action plan for 2023. Any comments or discussion?
I'll just make the comment that I agree 100% with the call, Mr. Kenny, who said we should have an action plan and that we should be following up with that. I think that was a great recommendation.
Yeah. I will agree with that observation and also note that everyone should know that the state requires the corrective action plan within 2 months of us, the council, receiving the audit. And historically, it's been closer to a year before the audit was received. And then in the case of 2022, it was almost another year before we had a corrective action plan. So we are catching up, cleaning up, and going forward. 100% agree with the comments made earlier that we must be much more attentive and responsive as we address the audit results that are presented in the future. But I think I made the motion, but just in case, does someone second my motion to?
I didn't get a second yet. You
I'll
did make a
second.
motion. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Individual resolution 2025-147, audit certification and group affidavits for 2024. And this is basically stating that the council members have all read the audit comments in the 2023 audit. Is there, I make a motion that we adopt.
Second.
Approved.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Individual resolution 2025-148, supports submission of application for New Jersey Department of Transportation Transportation Alternatives Program. Comments or questions?
It appears to me that this program would ensure a bicycle path on Main Street or recommend a bicycle path on Main Street as we go forward. That was my understanding in reading it.
Yeah, it's an it's a approval to file a grant application. I didn't read the details. It might be.
I'm
that
not,
might be-
I'm in favor of a bicycle path. I think it's very important. So, and I think that it addresses that. So I guess that was really my question, that this really supports implementing a bicycle path on Main Street.
I don't think it's a separate one. It's the striping currently like what we have because you don't have enough width of that road to have a separate bicycle lane. So I believe it's about supporting the same format that we have right now.
The arrows.
Yes.
The arrows basically sitting there, which is not so safe.
No, but there's just not enough room to do a standard bike lane.
And Ocean Ave.
Okay, same as Ocean Ave. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-148, the submission of the application.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Okay, the next item is a fairly unique resolution. I want to take a moment to explain it to the public. But resolution number 2025-149, recognition for fallen hero John A. Quinlan. I don't know, people in our community may know the Quinlan family very well. Others of you may not have any idea who we're referencing tonight. But as you all know, Bradley Beach has a number of war memorials in town, recognizing our fallen heroes, men or women who gave their lives fighting for the support of our country. And we have, over the past few months, as a council, worked through very specific criteria. What does it take to have your name? There are many men and women who give their lives for our country every day. What does it take to have one of those names put on a Bradley Beach memorial? And over the past month or so, this council has gone through a fairly arduous process of identifying what those criteria are. And part of the reason for making sure we went through that very thoroughly was because obviously, when we recognize the Bradley Beach fallen hero, that person should have a fairly strong connection to Bradley Beach. I'm gonna read this resolution because we are in the process of voting on whether or not we should recognize John A. Quinlan as a fallen hero in Bradley Beach. If we are to vote yes on this, we would add his name to a war memorial that would be placed in Riley Park. Whereas the Borough of Bradley Beach is committed to recognizing and remembering our fallen heroes, men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country. And whereas Chief Warrant Officer John A. Quinlan, age 36, died in service in Afghanistan on February 18th, 2007, while serving as the pilot in command of a Chinook helicopter in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. And whereas Chief Warrant Officer John A. Quinlan served in every major American offensive since 1990, from the first Gulf War to Somalia and Afghanistan. And whereas, according to eyewitness accounts, John A. Quinlan, flying with no visibility through an unexpected winter storm, lost an engine but kept the Chinook nearly upright as it plummeted to earth, saving the lives of 14 people. And whereas the Borough of Bradley Beach has established eligibility criteria by which to identify U.S. fallen heroes who represented Bradley Beach in their military service via residency and or via their participation in our community over an extended period of time. And whereas the parents of Chief Warrant Officer John A. Quinlan purchased a home at 418 Monmouth Avenue, Bradley Beach, New Jersey in 1982, where John spent his summers as a young man, worked summer jobs in Bradley Beach, including at a Bradley Beach local business, and always called Bradley Beach his home. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of Bradley Beach, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, hereby recognize and memorialize Chief Warrant Officer John A. Quinlan as a Bradley Beach fallen hero, whose service and valor shall be remembered and honored by the borough from this day forward. Is there a second? I make the motion.
Mr. Noble?
He will never be forgotten. Thank you. Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
I would also like to say I've known the Quinlan family for many, many years, and I remember the day when they got word that their son's helicopter was went down. So I am very appreciative of this, and I say yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
I just want to commend the council and the mayor for taking this action, and I think that this is what the month of May is all about. Basically talking nation into it did earlier and recognizing our fallen heroes. Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubitosi?
Yes. Okay, individual resolution 2025-150. This is awarding the bid for the demolition of the Methodist Church at 319 Lorraine Avenue. Is there comments or questions? Are there?
I have a couple of questions. So I'm looking at the three lowest bids that I believe it's been recommended that we retain those bids in the event that we need to move from the first lowest bid. So the lowest bid, I mean, there's a big disparity in the site preparation and cleaning, which is kind of odd. It ranges from 25,000 down to 8,500 or 14,000. And I find that very interesting. There's also a big disparity in the topsoiling within the grading process. From the lowest bidder of 3,500 to the other bidders at 9,800 and 15,400. So I'm just surprised to see those disparities. In addition, the lowest bidder, there's an irregularity that a written price doesn't match the numerical unit price. The second lowest bidder also had a disparity in that the bid was not submitted intact in accordance with the bid specs. And then the third bidder, and all of these bids are fairly close in cost. The third bidder had absolutely no irregularities. So those are just things that I wanted to look at. If we award the bid to the lowest bidder, And I don't know, does this irregularity get reconciled somehow?
Now, I'm under the impression, but perhaps I'm wrong, but CME, our engineer, had reviewed this. I don't know, Paul, if you were involved, but I know Mr. Doherty was, so.
Yeah, both
Matthew.
CMA reviewed it and our attorney, Greg Cannon, who's on your site, reviewed it. Then you're actually obligated to give it to the lowest bidder.
I understand that. My question is, there's an irregularity that the written price doesn't match the numerical unit price. Has that been reconciled?
It doesn't disqualify the bid. It's not as if it gets reconciled or not, because they already turned the bid in. They can't make amendments to the bid after they're turned in. But it's not a deficiency to throw the bid out. So you're required by law to approve it.
And even though ladies and gentlemen, the numbers in this one bid, the low bid, the details that Councilwoman Greenblatt identified do not add up. They don't sum to the total. But we've been told that they must honor the low bid price.
So we're keeping the other two bids at bay. I know we're rejecting the other three higher bids, but we're keeping those bids at bay in case there's an issue.
Well, at
Is
this
that-
point, we're just to award the low bid.
Right, but I think that it was recommended to retain the other two low bids.
I
So
don't think that's part of our
Okay.
resolution.
That was CME's recommendation based on evaluation, but the resolution is to award that. And your other question, it's not unusual for you see contractors bidding and putting their profits and costs into different numbers because how they actually develop their proposal may not be consistently where they put their costs or how they pay for their labor or their equipment. And so there is always that variation in the various bids. And I believe Matt is correct that you are required to award for a low bid unless there's a violation in that bid specifically.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I had to excuse myself. I returned the cell phone to its rightful owner.
Well done.
And Mayor, if I may, it's
Yes.
Tony over here. Paul, this would include the grading plan, so the neighbors will now be protected.
Yes, there was a grading plan included in the actual demolition plan to grade out the property. As well as, protection around the property and various environmental controls, dust control, et cetera. And then CME will also have an engineer on site several times, over the course of the demolition process, ensuring that those measures are being followed and implemented. As well as a soil erosion permit was put in to the Freehold Conservation District.
Thank you for your work on this. I appreciate it. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the goal is to have this completed by Memorial Day, so it will occur here in the month of May. So everybody be aware, and we will share information as to, once that gets awarded and then schedule, information will be posted and shared, what that process is going to be.
And prior to the demolition, we will have a public auction that folks, individuals, companies, whatever, will be able to bid on artifacts from that building. If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve individual resolution 2025-150, the demolition of the 319 Lorraine. Second.
Mr. Noble,
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
I'll abstain.
Mayor Gubitosi.
Yes. Okay, individual resolution 2025-151, approving the collective bargaining agreement between the borough and the UFCW, local number 152, to be effective January 1, 2025 to December 31, 2027. Any discussion?
I would say it's a long time coming.
Okay, on that note, I agree with you, and I will make a motion that we approve individual resolution 2025-151.
Second.
Mr. Noble,
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mayor Gubitosi.
Yes. Item 2025-152, approving a lease between the United Engine and Truck Company and the Borough of Bradley Beach for the lease of a fire truck for nominal consideration. Just so everyone knows what we're doing on this particular vote, our volunteer fire department has purchased with their own funds a truck, but in order for it to be insurable under the borough's policy, the borough needs to lease this vehicle for $1. And this is apparently very common practice, as we've been told by the insurance broker, our risk broker, who works with the JIF Insurance Fund. So any questions or comments? I will make a motion that we approve 2025-152, approving the lease between United Engine and Truck Company. Excuse me, in the borough.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Now, the next three resolutions are what most of you have come here tonight to listen to. And number one, I want to make a couple of quick comments. These are three separate resolutions and they are separate. A few of you mentioned, whatever that we have plans to lump all three together. Obviously, these are three separate resolutions, so the council can vote separately for each restaurant. Others of you mentioned concerns about understanding the governing body of Bradley Beach, understanding our community, understanding the needs of our residents and individuals' needs versus restaurant needs and businesses' needs and so forth. What I couldn't interrupt, I didn't want to interrupt any of your comments at the time, but I do want to make sure before we vote, everyone's clear on what it is we're voting on tonight. We are not approving or not approving variances. These three restaurants and the reason there are three on our agenda tonight, these three restaurants are all submitting applications, I had to get the right word, submitting applications to our zoning board, our land use board. And the land use board is the only authority that can approve whether or not you use parking for outdoor dining, or whether you need parking at all. Someone mentioned why are restaurants different or why are properties different? The land use board alone has that exclusive authority. We do not. So I don't want to dismiss anyone's appeals on either side. The restaurant owners, a lot of the other businesses who are adversely impacted by, this potential process that restaurants are going through. What I want to make sure everyone's clear about is we, the council, agreed to put these resolutions on the agenda because we care about our community, we care about our businesses, and the businesses can't get answers from the land use board until the latest July. They may be able to get them in June. I spoke with the land use board chair, and they said their agenda is such that they probably can't get all these applications in until we get to the July 17th meeting. That's why these businesses have applied through January 18th. You heard one business owner say, can we even extend it beyond? I said January, I guess, July 18th, thank you. So what we are voting on is whether or not we, the Borough of Bradley Beach, continue to enforce our existing zoning laws. They're going to be enforced, but the next step in zoning is to go to the land use board. It's not to come to us. We don't decide whether folks use parking for whatever they use it for. What we can decide is whether or not we provide a bridge to that zoning hearing, to that land use board hearing. And we don't have to, we're all gonna find out in a moment how we all vote. But as I look at this, me personally thinking how I'm intending to vote or likely to vote, I'm thinking, do I want to shut down the business now, whatever it is they're requesting, do it, because zoning says, close that parking lot. Zoning says, do not have dining behind your building. Do not have it in that little niche behind Uva. Zoning says that, do not do it. Zoning says for Marandolas, your tent is too big. I have to decide as a member of the governing body, whether or not I think we should just strongly enforce zoning as it exists today. And that would mean making all these businesses shut down, stop doing whatever they're doing until they get to the land use board. And my alternative is to say, give them a reprieve of a couple of months that they can continue to do what they're doing, understanding that when they hit the zoning land use board, I'm sorry, I keep using the wrong term. When they hit the land use board, if the land use board says no parking, it's no parking. We have no say over that. All we are deciding right now, and we'll get to the vote in a second, is deciding whether or not we should give these businesses an opportunity to continue doing what they're doing until they get heard by the land use board. I just want to make sure that's clear, because we've got very passionate people on both sides of this issue. And obviously, however these votes turn out, half of this room is not going to be happy. But please understand, we're not approving and we're not shutting down outdoor dining. We are simply providing an extension till these individuals get to the land use board. So pardon me for being a little long-winded, but I'll move to item 2025-153, which is approving Marindola's Restaurant to serve outdoor food and beverage in certain parking areas on its premises during the opening of the 2025 summer season, which per the resolution takes us through July 18th.
That's correct.
Any comments or questions or discussion?
Mayor? Oh, I'm sorry. Mayor, okay. I just want to reiterate too that they will not be fined at all from now until July 18th as well. Is that correct?
Right, if we vote to extend it, we would pause the fines, if the borough would pause the fines. If on the other hand, we vote not to extend it, the fines kick in immediately and whatever other requirements, have to be met or fines continue.
Thank you.
And the fines to date that have been implemented will still remain into effect, but yet be suspended until the 18th.
Correct.
So just to reiterate, the fines that have been issued from whenever it was in January that the tents needed to be taken down. Up until April 15th, those fines will continue to be enforced.
So what's gonna happen, fines that have been issued, summonses that have been issued stand. They'll be paused for the land use board to determine whether or not they're going to approve variances. But no additional fines will continue through this period if we vote to extend this period to July 18th. And once they hit July 18th, our jurisdiction is done, and it goes back to the land use board and our zoning processes.
And I also just want to say, COVID has hit so many elements of our society so hard. And I think that it really hit the restaurant industry in a way that restaurants are challenged to begin with in the best of circumstances. Restaurants are community gathering places. And that's not to diminish any of the businesses that are also places that we all value within our community. I'm very much in favor of small businesses and local businesses. And I definitely hear the voice of the parking situation, especially when there's a large parking lot that is sitting there intentionally required to provide parking spaces. So, in the case of, in the case of Darcy's, my own personal perspective is that in the off season, that parking lot should be available in the summertime, perhaps otherwise, but I think we do recognize, and certainly that's not my decision, but that's the land use board's decision. But I think we have to recognize the value of outdoor dining and how it does provide to the community. So that's really what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I would say, I would agree with you, Councilwoman. COVID has hit many businesses, but in the same respect, not just dining, but all businesses. And the inability to go to a restaurant that is a takeout restaurant and not have available parking up in front because of the popularity and desire to park in front of to go to an adjacent one of these restaurants, Darcy's compared to a Josie's or to Juanito's, or it's a problem. I'm sort of, I'm disappointed that the businesses themselves couldn't come to a solution on this. That maybe they could have went to the Plum and said, hey, can I rent parking from you to help solve my problem during the winter months that we're dealing with this. And that the things that were in place that were never taken down throughout the winter, actions could have been taken to have been a more friendly neighbor. However, I do understand that, I love to sit outside and eat. I also love to go and hear outdoor music, which is not going to be allowed under this resolution. Outdoor music would not be allowed, because of the noise disturbance. So it is still a restrained, but I do feel for the other businesses and the people who live on Main Street or adjacent as well. So this is a very, very difficult, question. It's not simple, which is right. If you wanted to go and apply it to, hey, our zoning is in place, you are not compliant. But then we have three businesses that are all, and so do you exercise one hand to address this completely, or do you look at each one individually? And under the expansion of Darcy's, it has unique issues as brought up, and I recognize that too. So this is a very difficult decision and an extension, and I feel for the land use board, which Mayor and myself also sit on. So we are going to be dealing with this eventually as well in that land use board. So I just want to let everybody know that this is not a simple yes and no.
Yeah, and for me personally, I want to assure the individuals who referenced the meetings that they had with Mr. Doherty, and I did not attend. Mr. Doherty spent a lot of time debriefing me, and I fully appreciate the challenges that other businesses on Main Street face. Like Councilman Nowicki, in our perfect world, the businesses would be, able to work together and have resolved a lot of the concerns just to make it good for all businesses. I guess where I'm coming out personally is the businesses are vital part, all businesses are a vital part of our Main Street. I want to do whatever we can do as a council to minimize the disruption to their various business models. And I know by saying that, whichever way we vote, we're going to disrupt some businesses for at least a few more months until these three restaurants get to the land use board. So, Mr. Weber, any comments? No, sir. Okay. I make a motion that we approve resolution 2025-153, approving Marindola's restaurant to serve outdoor food and beverage in certain parking areas on its premises during the opening of the 2025 summer season.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
I just want to say, I haven't heard anything negative about this parking area being used for restaurants, so I will vote yes.
Mayor Gubitosi?
Yes. Okay, item and resolution number 2025-154. This is approving the Pagano's Uva restaurant to serve outdoor food and beverage in their rear parking area. Comments or discussion?
Second.
I'll make a motion to approve 2025-154 Pagano's Uva restaurant.
Second. Motion.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have to take a vote. Can we, sorry, Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
I also have not heard a lot of, or anything negative from this spot being used for outdoor dining, so I will also vote yes.
Mayor Gubitosi?
Yes. Mr. Weber, I'm anxious to hear how you vote on this. Since you've heard some negative. Item 20. Please, we have quiet in the place. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We just had a quick caucus, as you might have noticed. Because I was just informed that I probably should abstain from voting on this because I happen to live close to Darcy's. And our lawyer has instructed that not only I should abstain, but and it's amazing that this didn't come up sooner, because I've been talking about this for 2 weeks. Council President DeNoble should also abstain. So we will only have three people on the council able to vote on this tonight. So I can't make a motion one way or the other. Someone else like to take
You want me to? So I would like to make a motion on 2025-155 approving Darcy's Tavern to serve outdoor food and beverages in its parking lot during the opening of the 2025 summer season from 4:15 to 7:18:25. A second?
Second.
Mr. Noble,
As the mayor mentioned, I do have to abstain.
Ms. Greenblatt,
So I'm the lucky one. With the condition that that Darcy's has violated the zoning and is currently violating it, the condition that they are going to be responsible for the violations up until the 15th of April. I will also vote in favor, and my vote would be yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
No.
Mr. Lever,
I have heard a lot of, about this particular spot, not just in this room, heard from neighbors, I've heard from businesses, and I am also gonna vote no.
Mayor Gutierrez.
I must abstain. Okay, moving on, resolution number 2025-156. Authorizing the award of professional engineering services to Suburban Consulting Engineers Inc. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep it down. Okay. Okay. People who remain in the room, please keep it down. Folks, Brian, can you ask the folks to calm down? Thank you. Item 2025-156, authorizing the award of professional engineering services to Suburban Consulting Engineers for a grant application, including technical assistance and loan forgiveness for the borough's sanitary sewer infrastructure replacement project. Discussion on this.
So I'll start the discussion. Paul Nowicki and I have been working on this grant application. So just to give a little bit of background, in 2018 thereabouts, under the Engelstad administration, the borough went forward with its sewer infrastructure replacement program. And it started at the south end. And it's a process that's going through 6 phases. So phase 2, with the exception of Fifth Avenue, has already been completed. And phase 2 had a significant number of cost overruns. Fifth Avenue is currently contracted to proceed with sewer replacement in the summer. And that's from Main Street to Madison Avenue, cross streets. And the remainder of this will take place in the fall, along with 1 block on Park Place between Fletcher Lake Avenue and Madison. So that will be a sewer replacement that's taking place. So as many of you are aware, we have had chronic sewer backups in town on Ocean Park Avenue most recently, Park Place and other North End streets in particular, which has been a chronic nuisance to residents. So through the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, the borough has an opportunity to participate in a grant program that has the potential to save us up to $4 million in loan forgiveness and another $2 million in technical assistance with our sewer infrastructure plan. So this amounts to $6 million in principal forgiveness, in addition to 75% of the remaining costs at 0% interest, which is quite significant. This state fund has been available to the borough for the past few years, based on affordability status. Unfortunately, it has not been utilized, so that's millions of dollars that have been lost. Additionally, our affordability status has changed beginning this year as a consequence of higher resident wealth, which has occurred particularly over the last few years. Our relationship with Suburban Consulting Engineers, who work very specifically with this grant, is enabling us to be grandfathered into the prior affordability for the grant, giving us potentially 2 years of forgiveness, and the $4 million that was just mentioned. We're in the midst of applying for this grant with Suburban's help. The resolution to approve $32,600 will help complete the grant application with requiring supporting technical information. We've been advised that we will very likely receive both grants. The money appropriated for the application, this $32,600, can be retroactively folded into the technical assistant grant and forgiven. We plan to have an information session on the scope of this project once the grant is received and look forward to community engagement. And again, I just want to say that Paul and I have been working very closely together on this. And because of his stellar engineering background, Paul has been able to make sense of it for a layperson like me, has enabled reducing the cost even for this application process of manpower, and has made sense of a lot of it. So I thank you, Paul, and you can add whatever I might have missed.
Well, Councilwoman actually, Greenblatt found this grant application through a relationship she had developed at the League of Municipalities. I was aware that there was money out there. I'm disappointed that for years that no money was ever gotten. We had to bond and actually fund out of our municipal budget, out of the sewer utility to pay for these projects. And here there is money and has been money available for years. And so I commend Councilwoman for actually having the chutzpah to go out and get that, and then bring it to the mayor and then engaging myself. And hopefully we will be successful in getting this. There's no guarantees, but the project report will be able to be used. We'll be able to actually, at no cost to the borough, assuming we get the technical assistance grant, we'll be able to design the rest of the replacement of the rest of the sewer system, 60% of the rest of the borough sewer system at the design for zero cost. It would be a $2 million grant paying for that, which is tremendous. So kudos, and hopefully we are successful in obtaining this. The work that Suburban does, we'll be able to use no matter what happens going forward. But this will enable us to really put together a good plan. What is the next 5 years? How do we finish what we started and complete the sewers full replacement on the north side of town, as well as Ocean Avenue and Main Street? So this is really an important project, and hopefully we'll have good news as over the next several months on what how this all comes together.
And emphasis on what Councilman Nowicki just said, replacement. That's a really big word in our vocabulary, because a lot of the opportunities we have to improve our infrastructure give us the option to either replace the infrastructure with brand new pipes or line the 100-year-old infrastructure, which is, I'm told by engineers, good for maybe 20, 25 years. But ultimately, we've kicked the can down the road, and we're still going to have to ultimately replace the sewers. So we, as a governing body, we've said this before, I'm hoping we'll continue to say this, we are very committed to over time replacing the sewer structure, not lining it and looking for quick fixes. So I also want to applaud these two to my right and left, Councilwoman Greenblatt and Councilman Nowicki. They really have led this charge. We don't have the money yet. We're authorizing tonight to spend $32,600 for this engineering company who's bringing us this opportunity to pursue it further, to hopefully nail it down. But if they succeed, as you just heard moments ago, on a cost for us, the Borough of Bradley Beach, will have a minimum expenditure of $20 million. It could be as high as 30 million as we go forward to replace our own sewers through bonding and so forth. This one action, if they succeed, would bring us $6 million towards that 20 to 30 million. And anything we borrow up to some limits, we'll find out what, at 0% interest, with 3/4 of what we borrow at 0% interest. So it's potentially, record setting for Bradley Beach if we can pull these dollars in. So thank you both for the efforts you've made so far.
If I may add, Mayor, I just want to say this is a really great example of teamwork. Shauna just got elected, and I said, you must go to the League of Municipalities. It's a great place to make connections. And she went, and she made this connection at that league. And bravo to her and to Paul. Really great work on this. And it's a pleasure to serve on the council with you both. And of course, John too.
That didn't go without saying. Okay,
John and I go way back, so yeah.
Would one of you like to make the motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve the
2025-156.
2025-156.
Authorizing award of professional engineering services to Suburban Consulting Engineers for a grant application, including technical assistance and loan forgiveness for the borough's sanitary sewer infrastructure replacement project.
Erica, you have to document it was a joint motion.
Okay, well, I don't think I had it in front of me.
I'm joking.
I'll second.
There we go.
Mr. Noble,
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt.
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
New council people, this is why we put you on the team. Yes.
Mayor Gubitosi.
Yes. And the final individual resolution, 2025-157, the bill list for April 15, 2025. Any questions, comments, items to be voted out separately?
Mayor, if I may, there were some questions on the previous bill list. I forget which council member was asking about it, about the Leon Avakian. Would it be okay if I address that now?
Please.
Okay. So,
And Matt, can you remind us, did we pull that from the last list?
We did.
We actually pulled it. So then, does that mean it's
I
appearing on
didn't
this?
see it on this bill's list.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, say what you were
a
gonna say.
lot of questions.
Okay, no problem.
All right, so the first one on it was for $3,055. It was for the oceanfront promenade, and this was coming out of the beach capital account. It was a bond ordinance back in November of 2024. The invoice shows that, hold on one second for this one. Oh, where'd it go? Sorry, I got all this other stuff. Here we go. They project coordinated, the site meeting prepared, parking overlay plan, prep and attended site meeting, prepared plans, improvements to Ocean Ave and Promenade, project coordination, research, follow-up with Monmouth County traffic engineer, adjusting and printing out aerial for Ocean Avenue parking, project coordination, research, phone conference with county engineer, and project coordination and research for a total of $3,055. And again, that came out of the beach capital ordinance.
Is that for the stuff that DPW is doing now at the beachfront? With the handicap?
No,
Oh,
I don't know exactly. I just know the ordinance or the invoice and what it was against. I don't know exactly what it was for. So I wasn't here.
Okay.
The second two, one's for $500, one's for $49.75. They are both put against the current fund, and they were in support of the Fair Share Housing Council. Basically, the folks that were doing all the research, Jen Bean and her team, they relied on the vacuum to provide them with detailed information on what properties were available in that. The second one, 501 Lake Terrace, $370. That was actually out of an escrow. It's out of the land use board escrow. So that did not come out of any borough funds. And the last one, another $500. This was just for general engineering, that they were do, the general engineering, hold on 1 second for this one. They prepared a plan, they completed the sanitary sewer map and also prepared Ocean Avenue color aerial map. And they worked on aerial parking for Jerry. Again, that was yeah, but that was that last one was going against the planners. So those are the explanations for those invoices and where they're coming from in the budget.
I had a couple questions on this bills list.
All right, I just wanted to clear that up from last time.
Please.
Okay, page 1 of the bills list, Applied Concepts Inc., Stalker Radar Trailer. Is that, and that was at $9,270, was that related to, not to the Park Mobile planning, was it?
Which page?
Page 1, Stalker Radar Trailer.
That was the thing that sits on the.
Yeah.
Road you cut.
Yeah, that's what police
Yeah, that's
Sounds creepy though, right?
Yeah, that's the new radar. Oh, here it is.
And it was from 2024.
Ah,
So that's like a whole year's worth of. It's $9,000.
That's it.
Yeah, we purchased it in 2024.
Oh, you bought
it?
Right.
So yeah, Chief, that's the mobile unit that basically will detect speed, so you can put it on the street and be
Yes.
able to say, here's what the speed is of your vehicle going down the street.
First one we've ever had.
I mean, it's always under.
And that just came out of the current file.
And at page 4, annual Google Workspace, $8,140, a maintenance agreement and contract. Is this something that we're actually using? Is this like the Google Workspace that I'm thinking of, or?
Yes.
something?
So it's like the
Google Workspace.
Gmail and all those other things that go.
Yeah, so all of our emails are on Gmail. Some of us use Google Documents. Some of us are still fighting in the past with
Okay.
Word and emails. But yeah, this is what the staff uses.
Okay, and I guess the final question I had was on page 8, and it's a special counsel in the tune of $5,705.
And those attorneys, right?
Attorneys, and I'm just wondering, special counsel, if it was related to any litigation or
Oh, sorry, I'm being on page 7.
Do charter study.
Page
King Munch and Collins.
8, what are you saying? Where,
King Munch and Collins, page 8, special counsel, $5,705.
Michael Collins is the attorney for the charter study.
That's the
commission.
charter study
Okay.
commission, okay.
Okay,
yeah, if you remember, you guys passed a resolution back in January, allocating $35,000 for various expenses.
thank you, I appreciate it.
Those attorneys, that are expensive, all right?
Okay,
No bill.
on that note, any other questions or comments about the bill list? Anything to vote out separately? I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-157 bill list for April 15, 2025.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yeah,
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Item 12 on the agenda, announcements, there are none. Item 13A, the administrator report, Mr. Doherty.
Only 10:30, great. One unfortunate topic we are tackling is the sewer line on Ocean Park Avenue. I don't know if anyone here lives on Ocean Park Avenue, but it is a problem. You're gonna see our Department of Public Works out there at least weekly, jetting, and for lack of phrase, sorry, sucking material out of the sewer line. The sewer line is shot. And until we're able to fix it as part of a larger scope, it's gonna be ongoing regular maintenance. We are bringing a camera that will go down into the sewer. It'll be a fascinating video to see where the breaks are and where the laterals are and other issues we have. So we're gonna probably flyer that entire neighborhood, let them know to call us if they are having some issues. Because there's a good chance that it is the responsibility of the borough if something is backing up into your house, unfortunately. And you know, when you think about the responsibilities of municipal government, it's keeping people safe and keeping things along.
Matt, is that fair?
The second thing, I'm just kidding.
Is that a shared service with the scope and the lines? Like, I know we used to, like Asbury has that capability and we used to borrow their truck. Is that similar?
So, on occasion, we'll borrow Neptunes,
Okay,
and they've been great about us using it. However, in this case, we are gonna need a contractor, because we need it quickly. So if we ask Neptune, they could get there sometime in, end of the month, we need it like next week.
okay.
So it's gonna be pretty quick. And lastly, I'm going on vacation. So, I will be out of pocket, this coming Friday to next Wednesday. So any comments, any complaints, any issues, just call the chief of police. And, I'm going somewhere warm and sunny, warmer than here. I only tell you that to make you all very jealous. But I wish everyone a very good Passover and happy Easter to everyone as well. So,
Yes,
thanks.
thank you.
Have a nice vacation. Thank you.
Very good, thank you, sir. Okay, item, we just had item 13A, item 13B, the mayor and council reports. Let me start with Councilwoman. Ray Black.
Great, okay, so I have some long reports and I apologize. The Fletcher Lake Commission met last Thursday, April 10th. The commission meeting began off script with the chairperson announcing that Bradley Beach has turned a corner, that it's responsive and collaborative and a big change for the Fletcher Lake Commission. And I just want to share that because those were the campaign points that both Mayor Gubitosi and I were running on. And it just gives me a lot of personal pride to hear that from someone who may or may not have voted for us. So be advised that Galaxy Geese has been contracted to mitigate the goose population around Fletcher Lake. Their role is basically to shoo the geese away. A recent post appeared on social media calling out the removal of eggs from a nest and attributed this action to the borough. As a liaison, I want to be clear that the borough does not advocate tampering with nesting eggs or any harm to the waterfowl around the lakes. Ocean Grove members are looking into funding from an NJDEP Watershed and Land Management grant to install floating gardens in the lake. This is not only beneficial to the quality of life that the lake supports, but a natural aesthetic. Member Sal Galicetti will head up spring flower planting in the upcoming weeks on the Bradley Beach side of the lake. While the commission is considering the possibility of installing lights for the lake's aerators and fountains, it is yet to actually vote on the matter or receive the necessary estimates for the cost in doing so. A Fletcher Lake cleanup is planned for Saturday, June 7th, 10 a.m. to noon. This will be a joint effort of the communities of Bradley Beach and Neptune, specifically Ocean Grove. Refreshments will be served for those participating. Thank you to the Bradley Beach CPW, who has graciously provided gloves and bags for this cleanup. Keep an eye out for more information. This is an initiative being organized by Bill Grafton, who's a Fletcher Lake member. The commission will be looking ahead to partner with nearby communities with oceanfront lakes to promote recreational activities and appreciation of its natural amenities. While lakes straddling both ends of our borough, the two commissions hope to get together to organize shared interests. The Fletcher Lake Commission will be putting together a marketing brochure to highlight the history of Fletcher Lake, its amenities, and ways to join in its supportive activities. It is their hope that this will be a coordinated effort between Bradley Beach and the Lake Commissions of Asbury Park and Avon. And on this, I also want to thank Paul Nishamkin from the Historical Society for providing such interesting information on Fletcher Lake. The next commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 8th at 6 p.m. The Arts Council met Friday, April 11th. It was a wonderful opportunity for the new commission members to come together and share ideas. To all those who volunteered to participate in the Arts Council, please be on alert that you will be hearing from them shortly. Your ideas, your help, and energy will all be needed to transform the Bradley Beach Arts Council to celebrate the arts and highlight our wealth of local talent. The next Arts Council meeting is Friday, April 25th at 2 p.m. And I also, again, want to thank Mayor Gubitosi for being so supportive of the arts in Bradley Beach. The Rec Committee met yesterday evening, April 14th. The glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt, originally scheduled for April 12th, was postponed due to inclement weather. The new date is this Saturday, April 19th, 7:30 PM at the rec center, at the baseball field. Students in grades 5 and up are invited to participate. Summer camp registration is open. This is a banner enrollment year for the summer camp program with 121 registered campers and only 4 spots left. This so early in the season. Bradley Beach is fortunate to have Fulfill provide lunch for the program 3 days a week. Also note that Bradley provides scholarship to 7 students, 1 per grade, and this year there were 20 scholarship signups. Last year, there were something like only as many signups as they were able to give scholarship grants. So clearly, as I put here, suffice to say, Bradley's summer rec program is a big hit. The student baseball softball clinic scheduled for spring break has been canceled due to low enrollment. We've been advised that the OEM is applying for a grant to obtain a generator for the rec center. This will add to the facilities available in the borough for emergency use as a shelter. A reminder about recurring events. Mahjong meets every Friday at the Biazzi Center from 1 to 3 PM. Open Rec runs Thursdays until 6 PM and Fridays until 7 PM. The Senior Club meets Wednesday, April 23rd at noon at the Biazzi Center. And some activities for spring. Morning pickleball began today and runs through May 6th. Afternoon pickleball runs from May 13th to June 3rd with 2 time slots, 4:30 and 5:30. The fee is $20 for the 4-week session. Registration for May opens on April 21st. Spring bocce enrollment opened yesterday, April 14th. It will run from May 6th to June 24th. There is so much demand that the program filled up before noon. Anyone who didn't get in can add themselves to the wait list via Community Pass and may be contacted to sub or replace someone. If anyone is willing to captain and manage the league for an additional day during the week, they may contact Courtney at the rec center to discuss options. Salted Soul Yoga will run on April 26th, 9:30 AM at the Lorraine Beach. There is no charge to participate. Almost done. Bowling night is planned for Wednesday, April 30th, 6 to 8 PM at Bradley Bowl. It's $12 per person and includes shoes and 2-hour bowl. Registration is currently open. Rec is hosting a Mother's Day paint and sip event, Friday, May 9th, 7 to 9:30 at the Firehouse Banquet Hall. The fee for participation is $50 per person and includes all materials. Registration opens late next week and will be listed on the Recs Department homepage. The Memorial Day Weekend Fair on the oceanfront is still accepting vendor applications. Please contact Courtney Pappas with interest in participating. Please go to the Recreation homepage for details and Community Pass for registration of recreation events. The next Rec Board meeting is on Monday, May 12th, 6:30 PM at the Rec Center. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman and Councilman Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're gonna talk a lot about trash and first, hey, thanks for hanging with us, everybody. This was a long meeting. So on Saturday, there was the Clean Ocean Action Beach Sweeps, which was run by the organization Clean Ocean Action, but our Bradley Beach Environmental Commission members kind of run the show. And it was a wet and kind of soggy and probably kind of sad show because the weather was really bad this afternoon. But for those that came out, thank you. People that come out and have interest in cleaning our beach. Keep it on the subject of trash. I have asked, he just left, I asked Matt to find out for the train tracks, what is owned by New Jersey Transit and do they have any interest in cleaning that up? Because it's basically a mess, what's on borough property, what's on private property, I feel like we need to figure it out. I've been told New Jersey Transit will not come and clean it, even if you ask it nicely. So our fine DPW, this was a while ago, this was not recently, but they took the training, because they need to get trained, you know, how you train to not get hit by a train while you're cleaning on the train tracks. And the DPW folks took that training and they cleaned the tracks a while ago. I'm kind of personally against that, because I want to make New Jersey Transit do it, like if it's your property, you should have to clean it up. But apparently our DPW supervisor can't stand the trash so much that he just wants to do it. Also, and this has been brought up, through the Environmental Commission, we're looking at this. And there's some cooperation with the code department because there are some instances where it's probably private property and people are just letting things go over their fence on the train track side, and you can see when you drive down Memorial, and it's pretty bad. So looking to address that multi-pronged, DPW, code, all of that working together, and that's gonna be Matt's job. So good thing I just told him that.
And John, a quick interruption.
Yeah.
Biagio Cafone, the Director of Public Works, told me that two of his folks who are code enforcement are in fact enforcing code.
Oh, right.
For those houses.
There's two DPW folks, they are part-time code officers, which is good, so helps it all work together. The sad news is that if you decide to do this cleanup along the tracks, the New Jersey Transit makes you get a train spotter, and it costs like $1,000 a day or something ridiculous, so it's really, it's a mess, and that's a mess to clean up the mess. Anyway, so for DPW, continuing on, you've seen their work at the beachfront, they're getting ready for those handicap accessible showers and things. That's pretty much, as far as I can tell, it's close to being done at Evergreen and is proceeding up north towards Cliff Ave. The last brush pickup for you to put brush out at the curb is May 12th, so get your brush out to the street. Kind of it for town. I wanna know, who likes a good birthday party? Come on, everybody, okay, who likes to sing happy birthday? Okay, who has ever gotten to sing happy birthday to somebody that's 100 years old? Not it. Oh, Barb Penny has, yay, okay.
That's right.
So this is, the story on this is, you run for office, you get voter lists, and you look at voter lists, and you knock on doors and whatever, but if you get this list from the county, it has birthdays with it. And as I'm doing this multiple times, I noticed, wow, there's some people that have lived for a long time, which is the really nice way to say that. And I noticed that there's somebody in this town that's gonna turn 100 years old in May. And guess what? We are gonna make a big deal out of it, and you are all gonna be part of it. Yes, applaud, it's gonna be great, you're gonna like, that's what we're gonna do. They bought the house 50 years ago, so they've had a house in town for 50 years, it's not like they moved here, after COVID or something, and 50 years, it's amazing. I'm gonna make a giant card, I'm kind of working on it right now, but I'm gonna bring it to the next meeting, where I'm gonna sign it, I'm gonna bring it to the school, I'm gonna sign it, I'm gonna bring it to the seniors, I'm gonna sign it, but if you have a meeting of more than 2 people, call me and I'm gonna bring the card and everyone's gonna sign it. This is the part I wasn't sure about. I'm working through the daughter, the 100-year-old person. It's not a surprise, but yeah. So it's May 16th. The birthday's May 15th. The family's gonna gather at their house on 3rd Ave on May 16th. And they said, what about like a mini parade, like a procession of, and I was like, I don't know about that. And this guy was like, yes, fire trucks, police cars, the whole thing. So Matt's in charge of that. Okay, I think you'd be able to join the procession. After we do a procession, we're gonna do a proclamation from the mayor or whomever declaring the day, her birthday, a special day in Bradley Beach. And then I believe, hopefully 100 of us or however many, we're gonna stand in this person's front yard, we're gonna sing happy birthday to them while they're on their porch. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Yay, this is like a feel good thing. I'm super make it happen. It's gonna be a group effort if it all happens, so thank you and thank you in advance.
Would it be more in the evening time?
Oh, sorry, great. 4:30 in the afternoon. So we're gonna get, hopefully, people at the end of their workday, we're gonna get as many people as possible. So stay tuned for that. There'll be something item in the town newsletter coming up, so we'll have some more details. We will have one more meeting. We will do the actual proclamation here at the following meeting. So it'll happen and then it'll be the following. Anyway, just want to say happy Passover, happy Easter to everybody, and thanks for hanging with us for a long meeting. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman. And while Councilman Weber's working on that 100-year anniversary party, the rest of the council will be working for Bradley Beach.
Right.
Doing all the hard
Important
work.
things.
On that note, Councilman Nowicki.
Okay, a police report. We'd like to note that April 13th to 19th is National Telecommunicators Week, where we recognize and thank our dispatchers, the crucial role they provide both the public and the department. It's a difficult job, fielding stressful calls for help when people are in panic and quickly organizing and sending the help they need. Dispatchers also have to keep track of everything that is going on, including our officers in extremely dangerous situations, all while keeping their cool. Police officers get thank you for your service. On occasion, when you run into them on the street or you happen to come across them at an event or they pull you over on the road, thank you for your service. But everyone seems to forget to thank the dispatchers. And since they are rarely seen and they work behind closed doors. So if you have the opportunity, reach out and tell our dispatchers, hey, thank you for your service. We also want the public to know that the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, Take Back event is occurring on Saturday, April 26th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is the opportunity for the public to dispose of unused or unwanted medications here at police headquarters. We cannot take any needles or inhalers and electronic smoking devices. Must first have the batteries removed. Any other form of over-the-counter or prescription medication is fine. For further information, follow our social media or feel free to contact headquarters for details. As far as police activity news, since the last council meeting, we have to report a 21-year-old man from Newark was arrested and charged with burglary and theft stemming from a stolen motor vehicle investigation. The vehicle was stolen in November 2024, and upon locating the vehicle, the Detective Bureau was able to obtain forensic evidence linking the man to the crimes. Warrants were out on the subject for several months until he was ultimately arrested and committed to the county jail. Also, a 16-year-old juvenile was issued a summonses for driving without a license, and the vehicle's owner, an adult out of Bradley Beach, was issued summonses for allowing an unlicensed driver to operate his motor vehicle. The investigation started when the 16-year-old juvenile left the vehicle running and unlocked while running errands, at which point it was stolen. The vehicle was later recovered in Asbury Park, and the police determined the owner had allowed the unlicensed teenager to utilize the car for errands. That's against the law. A 58-year-old man from Belford was arrested for possession of drug paraphernalia following a field contact. The subject was seen acting suspiciously around unoccupied parked motor vehicles, and upon contact, it was also found to have an active contempt of court warrant. In addition, an officer from our K-9 unit was deployed to Asbury Park to assist the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office in a narcotics search of a motor vehicle. The K-9 had a positive alert. And also the Bradley Police Department also arrested 2 individuals on an active contempt of court warrants. So, gentlemen, extend to the force, thank you for your service. I was just, my report for the fire department will come at the next meeting, but I just want to say it was a fantastic fish fry last Friday. It was a great turnout, great fish and a little coleslaw. And if you weren't there, you missed a great little event. And the first aid squad also assisted in that event. So their report for the operational period ending April 15th, the squad responded to 9-day calls and 2 night calls for a total of 11 calls. 10 were for medical, 1 for fire. The squad provided medical overwatch for Run-a-Palooza from Asbury Park through Bradley Beach, as well as providing medical overwatch and staffing assistance for the fire department's annual fish fry. So somebody asked earlier whether or not these events, so evidently First Aid did on that particular event provide some service on overwatch. The squad requested no mutual aid for this operational period. The squad fulfilled 100% of their assignments for this operational period. We are still looking for volunteers for the first aid. We offer free training for qualified individuals. Anyone wishing to volunteer for First Aid Squad, applications can be found on the borough's website. We are also now accepting applications for our cadet program. Young people 16 to 18 years of age who are interested in serving the community, please sign up. But then my last report is the Civil Lake Commission. Their meeting is tomorrow night. I just want to report that we had a meeting today with the Office of Emergency Management, as well as Monmouth County and Neptune Township regarding the greater storm drainage area. So all the way from Lake Alberta and Neptune Township drains all the way down through to Sylvan Lake. And so they were very interested in what we were doing with lake improvements, and we've been trying to coordinate upstream what is going on. And so we had some very interesting outcomes of that meeting, looking to see how we can better partner with our neighbors as well as the county. And trying to identify exactly where those sewers go and how we can help each other with the studies and how to control water flows, whether it be quality and or quantity. So that was a beginning. We're also going to be looking at Fletcher Lake and making sure that we are coordinating with that lake as well with the township and county, looking at upstream and looking at this at a broader perspective of what we can do for hardening and resilience. So that's my report there.
Thank you, Councilman. I'll begin my report by echoing your comments. The fish fry was a lot of fun and great. I think it was a great turnout. The fish was very good and continue to encourage others to join in the future. Most of you are aware of our maritime forest that a number of years ago we dedicated the area to former Mayor Julie Schreck. What we are just beginning to pull together is a ceremony that will be held again, honoring Julie Schreck, but really just updating the maritime forest. We have signage that we're going to add that'll provide a small picture and a brief bio of the mayor. Her family most of her family plans to attend, including her daughter, who has probably not been back to Bradley Beach in, John, how many years? Long time.
Sure, it's been a while.
Well, actually, she was.
I know.
Well,
last year or two.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but she kept a low profile, I presume.
Yeah.
This time she'll be out there for.
We kept her in.
Hopefully, she will enjoy seeing her mother recognized in this way. The date, please mark your calendars, June 27th at 5 p.m. More to come on that, but that should be a very nice event. A lot of work happening at our beach. We've talked about this before. I won't beat it to death other than to say DPW is doing a great job implementing wheelchair access facilities, showers, 10-foot wide Moby mats on two of our beaches, Evergreen and Cliff, including these pickup and drop off areas, working with the engineers of Aquian to make sure we get county approvals and so forth. So we're also going to cut back site triangles, make it, easier to see, more safer. So a lot going on at the beach. We're getting ready for Memorial Day there. Went to two functions at the Bradley Beach Elementary. Oh, I'm sorry. Council President DeNoble, we're saving you the best for last.
I was wondering, I'm like, what happened? It's okay. But yeah,
I jumped in there. You've got to sit next to me so I have a better reminder of.
I will be there next time, I promise.
Well, you will be the best for last, but I'll finish my report. I'm on a roll here, as you can probably tell.
I can tell.
I started mentioning the Bradley Beach Elementary School. Jane, that's what triggered me. I'll let you talk. Are you planning to speak to the elementary school at all?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I won't steal your thunder, other than to say I attended a wonderful play. It was great. And these performances by our elementary students are awesome. If you can sneak away and watch an hour and a half or so, or 2 hours of a play, it's a lot of fun. Fallen Heroes, many of you may have received a letter from me asking if anyone's interested to consider making donations to our Fallen Heroes Trust. You heard tonight, we have identified John A. Quinlan to join the list of our Fallen Heroes. We have a large boulder picked out. It's really, I think, very impressive looking, stands probably 4 or more feet tall, in a triangular shape. It'll have a brass plaque that's 30 inches by 20 inches. It will name again the heroes that are currently captured on our World War II monument. 12 names, I believe 12 names there, and a Vietnam veteran who died as a fallen hero. And we will add Mr. Quinlan to that list for this new monument that will be placed in Riley Park. So that was important for me to make sure I got out, just in case anyone does care to make donations. We're trying to avoid spending taxpayer money. And the thing I wanted to make mention of about the budget discussion we had today that I think is very good news. I just want to remind people, you heard our CFO talk and you heard Councilwoman Greenblatt ask, what parts of our costs are flexible, what are fixed? And you probably heard the vast majority of them are fixed. Between salaries and debt service and so forth. What no one mentioned, but I want to make sure you're all aware, we are also looking at ways to increase revenues. So where you can't decrease expenses, you try to increase revenues, and that also keeps our taxes down. And we are in the process of creating site agreements, shared service agreements, adjustments to fines, and that I mentioned in the past that haven't been updated in 25 plus years. All in right now, we estimate that in a full year, that'll generate another 300,000. Well, we've already signed up for, that'll generate another 300,000 of revenue, which is roughly 4% of your taxes. So if we were to look at next year, starting out at a 3% tax increase, this new revenue could offset that increase completely, as an example. So just want you to know, we are all working diligently to make sure that we manage your taxes as effectively as we can, and we do have some good revenue lined up in the future. And with that said, I have now saved Council President Dean DeNoble for last.
I promise I'll be brief. The Board of Ed is meeting tomorrow night. Next week, April 22nd. So I'll cover that then. The Shade Tree Commission had a meeting on April 2nd. They had a few applications. People are removing trees, but they're planting trees. So that's good news. Arbor Day is coming up. So mark your calendar. April 25th, 4 p.m. The 8th grade graduating class is invited to help plant some blueberry bushes in Pollinator Point, which is located on 2nd Avenue and Beach Avenue. So please attend. Their fall planting will be probably in September. They're going to not do the spring one because a lot of times trees are not happy after they're planted with the dry summers. So they're focusing more in the fall. Their current fund balance is $14,736. And speaking of the school, one of our favorite classes, the 3rd grade classes, I will be going there and giving them a tour of the trees on the school property. I do that every year. I work with Jen, the art teacher, and then they get inspired and they do artwork, and they also know how to identify trees after we're done. So I give them a volunteer sticker so they can spread the love of trees. Tourism, they had their meeting today. They approved their bills list. And they also discussed upcoming events, which includes Earth Day. I'm going to get back to this. And let's see. Hold on. Stand by. I was multitasking, which never works. Amy Hall, where's it go? Here we go. It will be, mark your calendars for this one because it's a great event. It's their 5th anniversary of doing the Green Fair, May 4th. It's a Sunday in Riley Park from 12 to 4 p.m. The event has over 35 arts and crafts, environmental vendors. There'll be food and live music with a local Grateful Dead cover band called the Grateful Men. This year's event showcases the Monmouth County Park System's interactive Nature on the Move, a live beehive with Ray, the beekeeper, crafts for the kids, a book swap, and even a bubble garden. So please mark your calendar. The trust fund is approximately $72,000 currently. And I believe that covers everything. And I just want to say thanks to everybody. I had lost my mom 2 weeks ago. And, it's tough. But I had so many people, the residents, the employees, the volunteers come together and just send me so many well wishes that I just want to say thank you. We are so blessed to live in a beautiful town with beautiful people. And I appreciate everyone. And thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Okay, we will move on to item 14 on the agenda, which is public comments and questions about anything you want. Yes.
This was my very first meeting ever.
Wow. That gets.
I didn't hear not one dog poop comment. I'm joking.
Come back.
That's proof that it's different here than it is on Facebook. Because that's where you read about dog poop.
Any other public comments? Yes, with that.
Yes, Rebecca Kaplan, 409 Grimley. I wanted to offer my high praise for the 3 council members who handled the restaurant votes the way that they did. It is refreshing, and these days, often more the exception and the rule, to see government recognize people who do things the right way and hold to task those who need to do better. So excellent job on that. That said, something else that I have bit my tongue very hard on for years now, since the church thing first went down, I'm sorry I have to unload. I think this prohibition against the mayor and council members participating in discussion and vote on something that is within X hundred feet of their house is absolutely idiotic. I didn't understand when the church thing first broke. I want John Weber to be part of the process. There's no conflict of interest. Hang on. There's no conflict of interest for me. I know he lives there. We all know he lives there. If he doesn't have a financial interest in whatever the project that might go there, what do I care? Mayor, council president, Jane DeNoble, you are 2 very important people in this government, and you couldn't participate in a discussion on an issue that had this room on fire tonight. That's just dumb to me. Ms. DeNoble, how far do you live from Darcy's?
I have multiple conflicts with Darcy, so I cannot vote.
But it's not just, because I need somebody to explain this to me as if you were talking to my 9-year-old daughter. So is there some limit on how many feet you have to be from somewhere?
200 feet, yes.
So who came up with that number? What is the name of this? Hang on, what is the name of this law?
Yeah, we'll let our attorney.
Right,
address it.
and is there no exception or argument that can be made for a town that is what, 0.6 square miles? So I'm drawing how many 100 feet around each of your houses? I want Al Gubitosi to be the mayor of all of Bradley Beach, not the mayor of all of Bradley Beach, except the 200 feet, 200 circle, whatever, around his house. It just seems ridiculous to me. So, thank you for entertaining that.
So you probably saw me run to my computer, because I wanted to verify that. I mean, generally the 200-foot rule, but it's really a smell test, right? What is a conflict and what is not? On this one, it's very easy, because the Supreme Court of New Jersey has defined it. They said, any governing body official that is a member of a governing body, if they have an interest, if their property is within 200 feet, that smells bad. They should not be voting. And there is a case on this specifically, and I can give you
Can you
the
give me
case.
the name of the case?
Yep, absolutely. It is Grabowski, Garabowsky, the Township of Montclair.
And it was court that decided on his 200-foot.
Yes, they ruled, essentially, it was a similar application, but the owner of the property was on the land use board there, and they voted on an application and it was appealed, and that's essentially what we want to avoid. Someone from Darcy saying, well, the mayor shouldn't have voted on this, he lives there, maybe he doesn't like the fact that there's parking, and we're right back where we started in costly litigation, so it has been defined by the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, I tell you to take it up with them, but that's impossible, right?
Well, I can, I've got time to vent my ire in different directions, and I appreciate you engaging with this. I just don't understand why I should care where Al Gubitosi lives. I know where he lives, right? Why are you taking from the voters the ability to sort of process, okay, I get that the mayor lives, however. So does the mayor want something bad to happen to the Darcy's property because he lives close by?
No.
It's very counterintuitive to me. Did John Weber want to put a bordello or a gambling den in the basement of what used to be the church because he lives right next door?
No, I mean, I'm not saying I agree with the rule, but let me just.
Anyway, I've taken up everyone's time.
No, I mean, I think I'll be quick too. It's a good, exactly what I just said, and I think you're right to question it. Someone standing in the back from Darcy's says, well, the mayor voted that way because he doesn't want, say it was loud music. He doesn't want loud music, and that's why he's voting that way, and that's exactly what they could say, so. You're saying it one way and you're right, but from the other side, they could easily say, no, he has a conflict, that's what they're trying to avoid.
And for the record, this happens all the time on the land use board as well. I haven't had it happen as often, except for Councilman Weber with church over the past few years. But part of the challenge, even though we all want to voice our opinions one way or the other, part of the challenge is what our attorney just said. We are very strictly educated to recuse if there's any potential appearance of a conflict. No, I understand what you're saying. Trust me, I'm the person who would like to vote and can't. But just as our attorney said, in the world of land use, and for that matter, right here on this council, even though we want to talk, we are told we are putting the borough at risk of a lawsuit.
No, I understand. Look, I understand your position. And again, I'm just, I'm tilting at the windmill. So again, thank you for engaging me on this.
Other questions and comments? Mr. Nishan.
Paul the Champion, 411.5 Lorraine Avenue. Obviously, the resolution tonight on the demolition of the church, I found very moving, very sad for this town. We're losing something that we shouldn't have lost. There would have been a terrific asset for this town and shouldn't have cost the taxpayers much money at all. I'm not gonna dwell on ancient history, but we got a bad deal on this when it was turned into a political issue. And we had a administration which in many ways really failed this town. Anyway, there was mention of an auction. And that auction, in fact, is going to be both online and live. I think the viewing starts on April 23rd. And the online auction, I think, starts up soon after that. The live auction is on April 30th at 1 p.m. And I encourage people to take part in this auction and preferably to come in and see it live, even if you don't bid on anything. It's a last chance to see the sanctuary of the church and the large shepherd's hall that adjoins it. Unfortunately, the borough is not going to allow people to see the rest of the building. But those two rooms are the greatest, largest rooms in Bradford Beach. Historically, they were always the center of this town, and they're going to be gone by Memorial Day. The auction itself, the items, many of them have been removed by a bidder who originally had a deal with the former administration and started to remove some of the stained glass windows. And also, many of them, the stained glass windows have not been removed. There's a very short window of time between the auction and May 12th for bidders who actually bid on these stained glass windows that are still in place to actually have them removed. And this is posing a problem. The original bidder who was interested in a lot of the stained glass windows was the Long Branch Historical Society, the Church of the President's Group. And I went with their president, Jim Foley, and the auctioneer a week ago to take a look and to sort of talk about what items they actually were going to be bidding on. And everything has changed from what they originally had been planning on bidding on. They're now not planning on bidding on many of the major windows that we thought that they were going to be bidding on that are still in place. And the Historical Society actually had wanted to have two of those windows, and were told actually by you, Matt, that those were unavailable because they were going to the Long Branch Historical Museum. In fact, they don't want those two windows now. So there's an issue on, not just on whether the Historical Society will have to bid on those windows or whether they can be granted. And more importantly, how are we going to remove those windows? It could be quite expensive to remove, and I'm appealing to the community to make donations to the Historical Society to help us save these windows. If they're not purchased by us or by other bidders who don't want to pay the money to have them removed, they're gonna be destroyed. And the two large windows that I'm interested in are the two most historic windows as far as Bradley Beach is concerned. One is the window that has an image of Sour Downs, which John Weber knows all about, although he was never allowed to vote on any of this. But basically, Sour Downs was the president of the Women's Christian Temperance Union in New Jersey, and was quite active in the Methodist Church. She has a window with her image on it, and that's fairly important to the town. But
Yeah, please finish.
the other one is a beautiful window in the Shepherd's Hall, which was dedicated to William B. Bradner. And for those of you who know the history of the town, William B. Bradner was actually, along with Bradley, the founder of the town. And Bradner developed the whole north end of the town down to McCabe, and was actually started developing it a good 20 years before Bradley started dividing up lots. Anyway, those windows shouldn't be destroyed, and we're gonna try to get them out, but there's gonna be a little bit of financial difficulty, so I appeal to the borough, to the community. If you wish to donate to us, you can go to our website, bbhistory.org. You'll find that there's a donate place, and you can make an electronic donation, or you can write a check to the Bradley Beach Historical Society and address it to care of to us at Borough Hall, 701 Main Street. Please, let's not have all the historic artifacts destroyed. And that brings up just a couple more things. The church bell, nobody seems to be capable of getting that down. And I'm hoping that we can work a deal with the demolition company themselves to somehow get that down without smashing it. I think the borough might want to have that just for some future location, who knows? It just seems a shame to lose that bell. It was a great symbol of this town for many, many years. And just to give you a sob story on it, it was actually donated by the school children of Bradley Beach in 1900. They all collected their pennies and basically purchased that bell. So anyway, enough said. Please come to the auction. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Other comments, Mr. Cohen?
Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Clear Avenue. Ms. Greenblatt, I just had a question about, congratulations on this grant application. The 32,000, because it's for the sewer, is that gonna be paid for out of the sewer fund and not the general taxpayer fund?
Yeah, it will, ultimately, it'll be covered by the grants.
Yes, but I mean.
It's gonna be paid for out of the sewer, and should we receive the grant, the grant will go back to the sewer.
And then on this OEM generator for recreation, I thought it was like a good publicity thing. We got a generator from the sheriff's office like in November. That OEM got, was that not for, was that for, I mean, the firehouse has a generator. I don't know what that one was for, or where it is.
What's the?
I was advised by Norm Goldfarb at the recreation meeting about this generator. So I don't think it's a generator that we've already received. So I'm not
There
sure.
was one on Facebook with like pictures with
Yeah,
the
I remember.
sheriff's office and OEM, and we got this generator.
What's the question, TJ? Was it
So
on the bill list or
is it
something?
the same generator, or do we, you know,
I
again,
mentioned
I'm
it in
just
my
trying to
report.
figure out where it's gonna go.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what, Shannon, what was your source? Was
It was Norm Goldfarb at the, I can ask him and get
Okay.
back to you.
Norm Goldfarb, for the record, did tell me that he did acquire a generator.
Mhm.
I don't know if we're talking about another generator, though. That's why I'm asking,
Okay,
can we be specific? But
that'd be great, we'll find out.
he did acquire one, someone else, it was used. I think it was used.
From the
but-
sheriff's office or something, I
Yeah.
remember, you know, something.
Yeah, it was a
like
good
that.
thing, so.
Yeah, and then I do wanna congratulate you on Mr. Barrett's work, and also I really look forward to getting on schedule with I was hoping it was gonna be July, but now he said it'll be August for the 2024 audit.
The state extended it to August. He may complete the audit before.
It's interesting, we've gone past the date and they never get fined, so I don't understand, you know. But thank you very much, and we're getting there.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? Yes.
Quick question, Lois Walter, 123 Lake Terrace. I appreciate all the work you did to get the grant, or the work that you're doing to get the grant for the sewers. Is my understanding that that's for the south end of town? Is that for the entire town?
It's for the entire town. The plan has been for the entire town. They,
Okay.
it began at the
It began
south
on
end
the
of
south
town
end.
because it was the lowest elevation.
Thank you.
The south part of town is like basically 40% of town has been done, and started in the south, so now that we have the
They're
grant.
working toward.
Correct.
Right.
Thank you.
And one of our challenges, as it got more and more expensive, the sewer infrastructure, improvements, enhancements. The cost got so great that there was pressure on the borough council to find less expensive ways to continue the enhancements, including, I mentioned earlier, lining the sewers. And we are unanimously in agreement that we're not going to line anywhere. We're gonna continue to replace these 100-year-old terracotta pipes.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Anyone on Zoom? Seeing no hands, I will close public comment. There is no executive session scheduled for this evening, so with that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yay, aye. Meeting adjourned.